and what KRA are telling you to do. Because that one of theirs is quick, 90 days.
Speedy. Significantly definitive time. Maximum 90 days. Within which time should you yes, perchance have an issue with they're asking you to pay your dues, you have an opportunity to actually seek redress. Now, redress comes in the form of an alternate way of adjudicating this problem.
What if they were wrong and I have no dues?
Then you will find recourse when you actually go through this lovely, lovely, lovely system where you will have an independent party listening to you and caring, and you can present your case therein.
Voila. Okay.
Imagine walking out and telling Harry,
jokes on you, suckers.
That's a gun. God damn you. No, msiwai kuja. 27 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break, take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you looking for employment and are tired of sending job applications without any response? Gone with no response? Tarmacking is now a thing of the past thanks to Skiza. Dial star 811 star 1 star 21 hash and subscribe to a ringback tune that reflects your qualifications only for 1.5 bob a day. And your callers will know your credentials and send you opportunities they come across. Set the tone.
All right, in just half an hour, so much can change on these Nairobi streets. We're looking at in and outbound traffic now on Jogo Road. And my, what's happening on the Southern Bypass today? Coming off Imara and then heading out towards the general direction of the city. That's building up quite some. And I know also folks who are trying to turn off General Motors in that area. You can't do that. You have to go straight and then turn around and come back. Yes, that is the state of things. And it's causing a tad of traffic right there. Langata Road is building up and we're seeing a build up also happening on the Thika Superhighway. But nothing too crazy just now. Kiambu Road is also likely to pick up at around 7 o'clock. So if you're out now, make a beeline for it because then you shouldn't have a problem with traffic. But if you haven't, what lies ahead? Now, that's a different story. We'll be here to see what's going on, where it's going on, and hope we can all be very careful. Unfortunately, nasty accident at the car wash Githurai footbridge, no casualties, but there's very heavy traffic there this morning, just in case you're heading in that direction. Let's talk. SpiceFM, KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
DPP are fighting. It's not fun.
This is Kamoti and Haji.
Yes. Having a bit of a pickle. A rumble in the jungle.
Those ones have been having issues. See, they separated. Now they filed for divorce.
Yeah, it would appear. And one party feels aggrieved. Last week's judgment that any charge sheet not prepared and signed by lawful prosecutors will be quashed by court has escalated the row between the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, boss, and the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. On Sunday, DCI boss George Kinoti directed his officers to stop recording statements, preferring charges, and giving evidence to court. This followed last Monday's directive by Justice Anthony Mirema, warning the DCI against drafting, signing, or presenting any charge sheets in any criminal prosecution. So it is not your job, essentially, is what the justice said. You've been doing it, stop it. Don't do it anymore. DCI not so happy with this decision. The judge said only the DPP, Nuruddin Haji, is conferred with prosecution powers and further directed courts to ignore any charge sheets not prepared by the DPP. In compliance with the court ruling, the Director of Criminal Investigations directs that no investigating officer will record a statement in respect to charges or give any evidence in respect to the same. Kamoti directed, adding that the prosecutors who prepare, draw and sign the charges will take over those roles. Any officer who declines these directives shall be in contempt of court and shall be held personally responsible. Kamoti's directive warned. Yesterday, Haji poured cold water on impressions created that he procured the favourable judgment in the latest of the many cases against pitting their two officers. In a statement last evening, Haji said he was fighting on the same side as Kamoti on this matter and said he actually did I'm with you, brother. He said his office did not seek the orders granted by Justice Mirama, nor any other orders. Nevertheless, he said, the decision reinforced similar findings of 4 other courts, which placed prosecutions in his forte. He also said he's not interested in taking up investigations, as that is not his domain. So he doesn't understand where all this fight is from. It is the court who has said, it is not me. So why are you making it seem as though it were me? Any impression to the contrary created by persons with ulterior motives to undermine the criminal justice system is false and an attempt to subvert the constitution and disobey lawful court orders. The prudent and civil recourse for any party aggrieved by the judgment of the court is to seek appropriate legal redress. This was according to Deputy DPP Victor Mule. Mule denied that the court gave orders on specific form of charge sheets to be deployed or whether it directed DPP to usurp DCI duties as implied. He said Haji's office will comply with the decision in public interest, the interest of administration of justice, and the need to prevent and avoid abuses of the legal process.
So now, does that story mention the new issue from the DCI about the DPP accusing the DPP of nepotism and stuff?
This one does not.
Yeah. Sounds very analytical, that story.
Yes, it is. It doesn't go into the meat that you're now suggesting, where we did see yesterday that there was this accusation that did come from Kamoti.
So let me read that bit then.
Okay.
The supremacy battles between the DPP and the DCI now have moved to court, with DCI now demanding probing and prosecution of Nuruddin Haji for alleged perjury and fraud during consultative meetings to formulate guidelines on terrorism. In an affidavit signed by the director of the Anti-Terror Police Unit, Martin Otieno, the DCI boss, George Kamoti, claims the DPP, while organizing a meeting for stakeholders to discuss the newly formulated guidelines, forged the attendance list to include names of 2 detectives who did not attend the meetings on the diverse dates of 21st February and March 2022. The DPP is also accused of equally forging the said officer's residence entries in the hotel where the workshop was taking place. Kamoti also alleges that the consultant expert involved in the drafting of these guidelines was not qualified and that he was selected due to his relation with Haji. Umesikia? There's a meeting taking place.
Yes.
It's a consultative meeting. Haji claims that there are some 2 people who came for this meeting, and in fact they even stayed in the hotel, and they did not stay in the hotel. Imagine. And then one of those people who was hired as a consultant is related to Haji. He wants the guidelines set aside and has raised a number of issues in the guidelines, among them the requirement for declassification of the operation and mode of investigation. Kamoti says the task force as constituted was comprised of a majority of non-investigative agencies who lack the expertise or technical knowledge in investigation of terrorism and financing of terrorism. These people who've even come for this meeting don't even know what terrorism is.
And who are they?
And it's all because of this Haji man. I want him charged.
You know how they say when it rains, it pours? So, like, when something may have come from somewhere that is Eric's fault, it would appear as though it was Eric's fault. You know, maybe Eric had nothing to do with it. Anything else that happens thereafter, it's just proper ammunition for you to continue putting the blame on Eric.
You know, I'm trying to understand where the difference, the difficulty is. I am not getting it.
Right.
Maybe something I'm missing here. DPP in charge of prosecution. DCI in charge of investigation. Where's the problem?
So DCI wants to... This DPP is a stumbling block. We have a case, we have a solid case, we take a file to the DPP. DPP, we need more statements. We appear like we're not working, yet we are working. This man is not taking cases to court. So we want to go straight to court. We arrest you, we charge you with murder.
We charge you. We want to be the ones charging you.
We arrest you and we charge you with murder.
Actually, the check and balance that is created by this system makes sense. You are the investigating officer and you're the prosecutor at the same time.
You can't.
Next time you want to be the jailer at the same time. No.
Justice Mrema said, you have roles. You investigate, hand over your investigations to the DPP, let the DPP come to court and charge the suspects. That's it. No longer do we want to see the names of investigators on the charge sheets anywhere. Hand it over. So you see what this does essentially is that man at the top being the boss now seems to be serving a subservient role now to
somebody else.
DPP, and it doesn't sit well.
By the way, this
It doesn't sit well at all.
wasn't just directed at the DCI. It was directed at Kenya Revenue Authority, otherwise known as KRA, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, National Police Service, Anti-Counterfeit Agency, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and any other government agency. So it's not as though Justice Mrema was focusing. No. Justice Mrema was stating something quite categorical and clear. Folks,
he was basically saying, people who appear before these courts
Yes.
with criminal cases,
Yes.
it's the DPP.
Yes. Please understand. All of you, all these agencies have specific roles. They're roles that someone else is not supposed to do or undertake. So keep to your lane. This thing of jumping onto other people's lanes,
Shida.
no.
Do your job only.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
DCI ought to be investigating something, though. This is a new issue, not a new one, but an issue that is becoming a very big one across the country. SIM swaps. Okay?
Shida.
So, the Nation had a story yesterday about this man called Farah Bashir. Farah Bashir is 58 years old. He's a medical lab scientist. He went to Johannesburg on the 5th of February. Soon after, he got calls from his family and friends who told him that some people were looking for him. There are people who had accessed his contacts and were texting and calling those close to him. Nobody thought much about it. All was well until 5:40 p.m. on the 7th of February when he got a disturbing message from Safaricom. The text said that the company had received a SIM card swap request and told him to ignore the message in case he had not initiated it. Message has come from Safaricom. We have received this. If you are not the one who initiated it, just ignore. An hour later, Bashir had received over 10 such messages. He reached out to Safaricom customer care on Twitter, but he was informed to ignore the messages if he had not initiated the requests. He ignored. At 11:31 p.m., Bashir sensed something was wrong. Like kitu kwa damu tu inakwambia something is not right. He could not access M-Pesa services as he attempted to buy airtime to call home. He contacted Safaricom customer care again on Twitter, who asked for his details, including his ID and his phone numbers. By now, his riled spirit could not rest, and so he decided to check his bank balance. When he opened the ABSA app and used his fingerprint to unlock as usual, the system rejected. He could not access the account. 11:51 p.m., he logged onto his account via the internet using his laptop. What he saw shocked him. 150,000 shillings had already been withdrawn from his Kenya currency account, which had a balance of 335,000. Before he could gather his wits, another 150 gone.
Good Lord have mercy.
All right. So the balance now left in this account is what? 35,000 shillings. He immediately sent a message to ABSA informing them about the problem, and he changed his password. That did not help because some 34,000 shillings was withdrawn. 150, 34. 334 out of a balance of 335. That was just the beginning of his woes. The fraudsters raided his dollar account that had some $17,451. A few minutes past midnight on February 8th, the hackers began by withdrawing $936, followed by $4,680, followed by $3,650, $4,680, $936, 1872, 561, 121, $9.36, and finally $4.68, they left the account, which had an initial $17,451 with 12 cents. They wired the entire amount to a PesaLink account and withdrew it. The fraudsters, they were like, shamba bwana. My friend, mboga, maembe imeiva, harvest. They raided his sterling pound account. They withdrew 225 UK pounds before clearing his credit card balance, which had 231,000 shillings. By the end of their digital adventure, the hackers had made away with 2.6 million shillings. Gone. For a number of days, remember he's in Johannesburg, South Africa. Now he has no money, none at all. Not on his credit card, not on his card, not on his bank account, so he can't even use his debit, nothing. He survived on extra yogurt and snacks from the breakfast provision that was offered by the hotel. I want to laugh. I'm just imagining it.
No.
So he's going for breakfast. He's on B&B.
Oh, no.
So he takes some extra yogurt, some extra nuts here, some Indian takula lunch.
Terrible.
When he returned home, he never got any updates from the bank.
Come on.
On April 25th, he wrote to ABSA and asked for a progress report on this matter and demanded for a guarantee that his money was safe at the bank. I'd like to know how the fraud was conducted, what internal systems the bank has to detect illegal withdrawal of funds from my accounts. Why did the fraudsters access my account on the 8th of February at 11 p.m. SA time after I had changed my password? He wrote. He waited. He got a response on the 13th that it was a complaint resolution. In the document, the bank admitted that they had received his complaint via his relationship manager and they confirmed receipt of his follow-up email. The bank confirmed that 2 million shillings from his USD account and some more than from his pound account and credit card accounts had been withdrawn. The investigations had established that the funds were transferred via mobile banking to 2 other banks and M-Pesa mobile wallets. The bank said that they also established that there was a SIM card swap on its Safaricom mobile number that precipitated the transfers of the funds, and that Mr. Bashir reported the incident to the bank, which immediately followed up with recipient banks and the telco for reversal. We managed to secure 500,000 shillings out of the 2 million shillings that had gone, and we've credited the amount to your account. The rest of these funds, unfortunately, were already utilized. From the above sequence of events, we have established that there was no compromise to the security and password integrity in your account on the part of the bank. Kindly note the credentials are only known to the customer. In addition, where a password is compromised, you are under a duty to inform us immediately so that we may take appropriate action to secure your account. Based on this, the bank is not liable for the net loss of 1.5 million shillings from your account. GSOT. Big story today in the nation.
Does it not beg
as Kenyans
question,
are demanding
then?
answers from telcos on this SIM swap fraud.
Okay, so they're saying essentially the SIM swap is what precipitated now
everything
else. So that because of the swap, they could now then change or access bank apps, this, that, the other thing.
So they say.
But doesn't it also then bring into question financial institutions and their security?
They say there was no compromise on our security because you create a password and you're the only one who knows that password. We don't also know that password. So if someone has a way of accessing your password and your account, we cannot tell that it's not you.
Oh, man.
That's what they say.
Page 15 of the Standard.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear the Kapenguria 6, or was it 7? When the founding president of this country, Jomo Kenyatta, was in Kapenguria, among the people he was with at Kapenguria was a gentleman by the name of Fred Kubai. Okay? Now, Fred Kubai died in 1996. Now, before he died, he and the central government, national government, had arrived at a certain understanding. the government wanted to expand the hospital at Naivasha, and one Mr. Kubai owned some 10 acres in a place that was suitable for such an undertaking. And Mr. Kubai agreed that the government could have that land on the understanding that they would compensate him for the land. The hospital was built on that land, but no compensation took place. He died in 1996, so his widow decided to take the matter up. Christine Kubai, she is the registered owner of that particular property. Now, the Environmental and Land Court Judge Mwangi Njoroge ruled in Nakuru that the government should compensate this lady for that land to the tune of 500 million Kenya shillings. In addition to that...
How much?
500 million, 500 million.
Wow. Okay. What was the size of the land?
10 acres. Okay. In addition to that, he said they should give the lady 20 million Kenya shillings for trespassing on the land which they took over in 1993. So all that period of time, they had been trespassing. But he also noted that the lady had been generous and kind. She did not seek to have this hospital demolished because she understood the benefit or the public good this hospital was doing. So he said, this must be done quick, sharp, forthwith, immediately. And
in a hurry.
Chap, chap. Why this particular story touched me was because whenever we hear of freedom fighters, tomorrow is we're celebrating Madaraka Day. The tales are usually tales of war, suffering. They were at the forefront of people who fought for independence, but nothing seemed to have come out of these efforts that they made. And many of them died poor. So when you hear of a case where one such freedom fighter has the courts determining, the question you ask is, why didn't the government just pay them for the land as they had agreed?
Yeah, why? I mean, that's a big one.
Yes.
Because if they had come and sought, let's set up a hospital here, we shall compensate you, why didn't they compensate?
Yes. 1993 is when they moved into this land. We're in 2022. All these years, you know full well what the understanding was.
Yeah.
And the court determined it was his land. It was not government. It was his land, his. It belonged to one Mr. Fred Kubai.
Okay.
I look forward to a day when we'll be reading stories of not justice having been done but seen to be done, where public officers do the right thing. Not cases where you read the story and you wonder, so who was trying to take this land? Or are we going to read that somebody got compensated and they want the rightful owners of this land? Because in our country, that is not something that you can consider to be an impossibility. It is not an impossibility. Now, this is someone with a name. What happens to very many other people who have similar cases? They aren't highlighted. They don't have the means to even take this matter to court. What happens to your property?
Absolute mess for years.
It's gone.
Yep.
It's a good thing for Kubai's widow. It's good for the family.
It is very good for the family.
Justice finally served.
Then there's this issue of you actually getting paid.
Now that's the next one.
That's a different story altogether.
Sadly. Can I tell you about Kenya Power?
Yes.
So Kenya Power, remember last week, the acting MD was replaced by another person.
Acting.
And she proceeded on terminal leave. Remember before this, there was an issue of the board itself, the composition of the board. Several times, members of the KPLC board had resigned, others had come in, others had resigned, and now we had a board that was seemingly working towards getting us this power bill. We shall remain in March for a bit longer because the board of directors of the Kenya Power and Lighting Company have announced the resignation of Engineer Elizabeth Rogo, Engineer Abdul Razak Ali, and Dr. Caroline Kitoni Wayaki as independent directors of the company to pursue other personal interests. The company would like to sincerely thank them for their commitment and dedicated service and wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Similar statement came out in 2019 or 2020 of other directors resigning the same way. This raises the question, okay, so why exactly have they resigned? Why at this particular time? Why are they resigning after there's a new MD? The issues of the board of KPLC and the queries on the number of meetings that they've sat and getting Kenya Power back on track. What does this? It has more questions than answers.
Signifies a mess, man.
Yep. Tell us one final story before we go to the top of the hour.
Raila Odinga wants a new rabbi aspirant. Of course, we heard the untimely death of this gentleman in an accident that happened yesterday.
What did you say? That constituency?
Rabbi.
Okay.
You thought rabbi.
Not like Rabbi the Jewish.
Rabbi.
Rabbi MP William Kamoti, who died in an accident on Sunday night in Narani in Kilifi County, has been remembered as a friendly, fearless, humble and a sharp lawyer. Kamoti, who was serving a second term, was a well-known civil lawyer in Mombasa before he plunged into politics in 2007 when he unsuccessfully contested the Kaloleni constituency seat. He became the first Rabbi MP in 2013 when the constituency was carved out of Kaloleni. He was re-elected in 2017 on an ODM ticket. His close friend and Kilifi Senator Stuart Madzayo said the region had lost an astute legal mind who once served as Kwale District Land Registrar before plunging into private practice. His death is a big blow to the party and indeed the country. He was our sure bet and was set to recapture the Rabai seat with ease. Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Coalition presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga was among mourners who attended the legislators' burial yesterday. He called on local leaders and residents to immediately get a replacement for the MP and forward his name to the IEBC before the set deadline. He died in Sunday, hours after being cleared by the IEBC to defend his seat on an ODM ticket.
That's quite tragic.
It was.
Extremely tragic. Extremely tragic.
And condolences to the family and the people of Rabai constituency.
Get out of here.
Right.
Keep it here for more stories coming up in the next hour. We talk about commerce in film, and especially in this digital era. Content creation and film, how can you monetize this? How can we actually convert this into a proper business that earns people, very many people, a source of income? This and more coming up in Kenya's biggest conversation. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, greetings. I'm Dennis Aseto. The presidential candidate registration exercise enters the third day today, with the Umoja Summit Party presidential candidate Walter Mongare becoming the first candidate to be cleared by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission yesterday. IEBC chairperson Ufula Chebukati said 3 other presidential candidates who have so far presented their papers for clearance were declined due to signature shortcomings. This comes as Usawa Kwawote Party presidential candidate Mwangi wa Iria's efforts to seek an audience with IEBC to raise his grievances failed.
They can put another block so that we don't contest, but I have said I am fair enough. I will engage them. If they don't listen to me all the way to court, I will not go back home. We shall continue going around the country, resisting injustice like what we are going through. Shall be dealing with a different animal. This party will be a different animal in this country, and members will be all over. Anybody who is not happy with this will become my member of the resistance movement, because we are resisting injustice. You cannot deny me fight for presidency and I stop looking for other means of getting the same, because Kenya si kioski ya mtu.
Mongare, who has been issued with the certificate, says it is a win for the youth.
As we start this journey on behalf of the many young men and women out here, I want to assure them that this certificate is not for Walter Mongare. It's for every young person in this country who's got dreams and aspirations, a better tomorrow, a country that campaigns are not based on personalities but are based on issues that actually affect our people.
This is Roots Party presidential aspirant Jojo Jacoy's application was not successful after failing to achieve supporters list from 24 counties. Wajakoya, however, has until this Thursday to rectify the shortcomings.
At least if there is a mistake that has happened or there is some kind of shortfall, we are going to do it because you have seen, witnessed that we have passed everything. Apart from one thing, nago kadogo tutafanya hivi.
Independent presidential aspirant Ruben Kigame's application was equally rejected, and he had this to say.
I will not take sitting down the premature disqualification without a hearing. And I say we must bring an end to partisan politics. We must bring an end to exploitation. We must bring an end to bad governance. And it begins with fair process.
Chebukati explained that those whose applications were rejected were based on various issues and that those that are disgruntled should file complaints with the commission. Now, United Democratic Alliance chairperson Johnson Muthama has cleared the air over his political future, saying he is in UDA to stay, following claims that he was set to decamp to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance. Muthama said in a statement that the claims are a fake narrative peddled by their main opponents to misrepresent the facts. Muthama said that he remains the chairperson of Deputy President William Ruto-led party, which he described as the biggest and most vibrant political party in Kenya. The ex-Machakos senator said that he will remain loyal to UDA, which he expressed confidence that will emerge victorious in the August 9th polls. Muthama's statements come a day after UDA Vice Chairperson Kipruto Arap Kirwa ditched the party and officially joined the Azimio coalition. And the Council of Governors say that the National Treasury is yet to disburse 23% of revenue to counties for the financial year 2021-2022, with total arrears owed to counties standing at 83.4 billion shillings. The Council's Health Committee Chairperson Governor Anyang' Nyong'o said it is unfortunate that the funds are yet to be disbursed with only a month to end the current financial year. Nyong'o noted that so far only 17 counties have received their allocation for the month of April, and all the 47 counties are yet to receive their May allocation. And the Council of Governors has called upon the Ministry of Health to establish systems to curb drug theft after the recent reports of drugs stolen from the Kenyatta National Hospital, valued at more than 9 million shillings. The governors, in a statement, condemned the inhumane incident and called for improved logistics infrastructure and information systems to counter future occurrences. 6 KNH employees were last week charged with stealing cancer drugs from the hospital. And 6 members of the County Assembly of Makueni are in police custody after they were arrested by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission detectives for fraudulently claiming and receiving over 175,000 shillings each in per diem for a Dubai trip which had been privately sponsored. EACC said that the suspects who made the trip 7 years ago will be tried before the Makueni Anti-Corruption Court today. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, so traffic continues in the city this morning. We're looking at quite some of it coming off the Thika Superhighway right now. Heavy going towards the Pangani Underpass and then out towards the CBD. On Mombasa Road as well, that's building up a little bit here and there, but we'll see most of it spilling over to North Airport Road and then onto Outer Ring. Building up on Uhuru Highway, getting into the CBD out towards Westlands, coming off of Jogo Road through to Landis out towards Kamkunji, and we're going to see that traffic build up around the city as we go along. A few minutes after 7 o'clock, let's see what's in store as we go into the morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It's 7 minutes
This
after
is the
7. Good
Situation
morning
Room,
and welcome
the
to
only way
the
to
second
start
hour
your
of Kenya's
day.
biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on SpiceFM KE, YouTube and Facebook. A very good morning to you. Before we have a conversation about film business, let's hear the day's proverb. City?
This is our final proverb from Tanzania. One who bathes willingly with cold water does not feel the cold.
One who bathes willingly with cold water does not feel the cold. Your choice. It's a choice that you made. So they were going for anyway, right?
Remember, my issue here was not the cold water.
It's the willing.
The choice. If I want to take a bath and the only water that's available is cold water. So,
Kubaya.
it's not really kubaya. Not much of a choice. Not much of a choice. And so, am I saying that I will therefore not feel cold? Of course I'll feel cold.
You will.
But I think the real solution here is if you take a bath in cold water regularly, after a while, it ceases to be a problem.
You get used to it, right?
Yes, your body acclimatizes, your body doesn't really mind. But you make the mistake of taking a bath with hot water, then going back to the cold water. You will feel it on your body.
Hey, my friend. It's not my portion.
To do what? To feel cold water on your body.
I am not here to suffer. I am not here to suffer. Why? Timothy Owase is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. He joins us once again in the Situation Room. Good morning, Timothy.
Good morning.
Good to have you again on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Asante.
Unaonaje studio bado mataa iko lights. Brian, the lights are a bit bright.
I can see major improvements. City has become a great storyteller. From the,
City has improved.
of course, from the proverb, I can tell.
What was I previously, Timothy?
You have always been, but today you have confirmed.
No, you were at 85. Now you are 90.
In other words, I'm asking City to join me in the film sector.
Okay.
Yes.
We get it now. There's money to be made.
Indeed.
Yeah?
It's big business.
When you're invited so casually, there's work to be done. The money to be made thing, that's a different story. But I thank you for the invitation, and I thank you.
And there are stories to be told as well.
Yeah, there are stories to be told.
Yes. Indeed.
Timothy.
Yes.
We've been talking about various, series, for example, the various platforms that Kenyans are able to create content and place on the various platforms, right?
Right.
We also have seen the proliferation of very many content creators on online platforms, on social media platforms, people who are now called influencers because of what they do and they create content.
Yes.
Some of them doing film. And then there are those who are proper film enthusiasts, and we've noticed that they are also going all out there, creating short stories, short series that are either aired on these platforms or aired in theater, So film appears to be doing quite well. Would you agree?
I do agree, and it also presents great opportunities. Yes.
Like what?
First of all, the screen sector is a big business globally. When you look at the year 2019-20, just before COVID, when I look at the numbers, we had about $172 billion spent in the sector.
Globally?
That is globally. For me, that is an opportunity that we need to actually take up as a country, and that's why Kenya Film Commission is here to advance the business of film in Kenya. So when you talk about the film industry is actually doing well, I may say it's an understatement, not only for Kenya, but for Africa and the globe. In Kenya, we are doing our best. We can do much better than where we are, but opportunities are immense.
For the longest time, when you talk about film, you think of where the film is going to be shown and screened, and people think of theater.
Correct.
Now, when we say all these things, there are those who are thinking, okay, so when is the last time I saw a new theater opening in the country anyway? a new theatre opening in Nairobi or a new theatre opening outside Nairobi, then someone may come and tell you, you're telling me film is growing. Where are the theatres?
Yeah, first of all, let's think about what are the tools for you to consume content today as compared to before. When we spoke about theatres, that was before the emergence of the current technologies. Today, your mobile phone is your product or an avenue for you to access content. You can be able to consume content through the phone, meaning telcos today are pipelines for content consumption, and also TV stations, as well as other avenues, outdoor and indoor. So out of the new technologies that have emerged, we can be able to create content using your mobile phone, using other tools as provided by key players in the globe like Canon and others. And this has presented an opportunity for both investors, those who love watching movies, and those who create movies to actually undertake the business of film in an easy way.
Are we saying, do I understand you to be saying that physical theaters as we knew them, buildings where people went and displayed their abilities to act, are we saying that these are now most definitely a thing of the past?
They are still very relevant, and today you can still go to a theater and watch a movie on a big screen. But I'm just saying that there is now room for you to access content through other avenues like your mobile phone as compared to before. Yes.
When we're talking of movies, I was thinking about more stage acting, where, like the National Theatre.
Stage acting can be transformed into a specific movie or a film if it is put in the specific technology.
If it's packaged in that technology.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me tell you why I'm sticking to this with the like a dog with a bone. I'm looking at this industry that we work in here. Print for the longest time was king.
Correct.
Now, digital ways of communicating have made serious forays into that particular space, if we may call it.
Right.
And with it, storytelling has been reduced to small little bites.
Right.
So people consider news one line. That's news. And yet, I understand news to be a lot more than just one line. The line is the introduction, and then there is what it is that we are referring to as content that makes the news.
Yeah.
So even as we have new and better ways of consuming product or content as we understand it, are we not then diminishing the quality of this content if we insist that this new way is certainly an alternative, but it seems to be, well, it's growing to be the dominant means by which people actually consume content?
I do not think we are diminishing the quality. You know, when we talk about content creation or news distribution, this is a profession, and the players in this field apply their skills when creating and distributing this content. So in the screen sector, I'm looking at a situation where governments are putting more emphasis on creating environments that are supportive to the screen sector, so that those who are participating in the creation, distribution, and consumption, they're actually following the due procedures that are actually put, so that we have high-quality productions, at the same time produced in a manner that is acceptable by all. The same applies to news. For news, we now have the digital tools where I do not have to wait for the 9 o'clock news for me to actually get to know what is happening around me. I can be able to access this information from anyone. Today, everyone is a newsmaker. You are on a highway, something happens, you capture, you put a line, and share with the world. Of course, we are not saying that that is a professional way of doing this, but in terms of sharing information, we now have more avenues of doing that. Yes.
All right. As a Kenya Film Commission, there's something you're calling the Kalasha Film and TV market.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, just hearing you say the way in which content has changed over the last, 5 or so years.
Yes.
That means now the ways in which we consume content has also changed, just like you're saying. So then, how does the Kalasha Film and TV market then now fit into this change, and what does it offer?
Thank you. Kalasha International Film and TV Market is a platform created by Kenya Film Commission to enable participants in the film industry to converge, trade, exchange, learn, fund, and undertake all activities that pertains to the film industry. So this year, the month of June, that is between 10th to the 12th, it's a 3-day event that we actually converge together to have filmmakers sell content, buy content, and also exchange in terms of networking. The market normally contains various activities. Let's talk about workshops. We have conferences, pitching sessions, where content buyers have an opportunity to actually get those who are pitching, and if there is any project that suits any buyer of content, takes this opportunity to be able to do this. So the Commission has provided this platform to enable filmmakers to actually trade and transact, and also have various speakers from across the globe who come together to discuss on various aspects of the film industry. For example, regulatory frameworks, when we talk about film incentives, funding mechanisms, capacity development, and how do we make our filming environment, for example, in Kenya, a friendly filming environment. If you are coming in to film from, let's say, a foreign country, how are you treated as a filmmaker? What are the processes for you to get into the country with your equipment? And how easily are you able to access skilled manpower and so on?
So it's a trade fair?
It is a trade fair. We'll have exhibitors, key international and local companies, film associations will be exhibiting, and we'll have key discussions on topical issues that touches on Africa as far as the screen sector is concerned.
Every time we talk about content, and just like we've said so far, there is the thinking of big investments, big equipment, large crews, you must have a professional cast, and all those things. So I'm sure because of what you've said, technological advancements and the way now people are consuming content and the way people are even creating content, we have completely broken that down. If you were to speak about the various categories of content creators, which one would you say are, the smallest to the largest? And not small because of their insignificance, but small in terms of little investment required, but still good quality. Can you categorize them in terms of, can you categorize content creators?
There are various categories of content creators. There are content creators who create content for consumption in a day. There are those who want to create content that will require mega investment. For example, a film that would spend over $1 million to be shot on location in Kenya will definitely require a professional cast and crew. You will also need proper investment into this particular film, and it may require aspects of co-production, which are key elements of discussion at Kalasha Market. So as you rightfully put it, it is true the categories of film projects vary depending on the executive producer and the producer. So if you want to sell your product, let's say, to a class of targeted market, then you will be able to undertake to produce this content based on your aspiration. And again, I think the key word here is film is big business. And when you're undertaking to produce any content or to storytell, you storytell with an aim. If there isn't any specific target that you want to achieve, then it may be very difficult for you to actually tell whether this product is of a certain category or not. But as far as classification is concerned, I think it all depends on the producer and what you want to attain.
Sure. Who is buying this content? And I'm asking now the caliber of the buyer, whether we're looking at local buyers, whether we're looking at global, international buyers, and for what reasons are they buying? Because essentially what we're saying is filmmakers, documentary makers, etc., are producing content. Are they for local channels? Are they for global channels? Are they for, use educationally? What would be your kind of, buyer demographic?
Thank you. Storytelling is very dynamic today. And when you produce content or when you create any kind of content, you create content with a specific targeted market audience. For example, in Kenya, we produce content as local producers to sell our content to the global audiences, either video on demand, local broadcasters, or international broadcasters. There is a lot of localization. Also, in this particular space, we have so many competitors in terms of players as far as broadcasting is concerned. And because of this reason, there is a lot of localization, which means that the stories that are being told in Kenya are actually being sought for in other countries, let's say in Asia, America, and Europe. So when you are creating content, you create content targeting all these particular markets, knowing that when you expand your horizon in such a manner, then you have an opportunity to create wealth and create more jobs. Yeah. So to answer your question, the buyers of this content are both local and international.
Okay.
Yes. And they may be in form of key distributors, video on demand organizations like Netflix, Showmax, pay TV stations, free-to-air broadcasters, among others.
Okay, I think you've mentioned a class there of the off-takers of content, TV stations. You've said the OTTs like Netflix, Showmax, and the others.
Yes.
You have said it could also be pay TV. Then there's distributors.
Yes.
Now, for people who don't understand this, explain who are distributors and what kind of business is this?
Thank you. The distributors are like the brokers between the content creator and the ultimate consumer. Today, Eric is a producer of content, and he would like his content to be consumed by audiences in South America. In between, we have my sister as the distributor. And her role is basically to link Eric and the audiences in South America. So the role of the distributor is actually an intermediary between the content creator and the consumers. Yes.
So what happens? Is it that the producer, in this case Eric, sells the content to Ndu, the distributor, or does Eric license the content to Ndu, the distributor? What's that relationship like? Then what does Ndu do with CT, who is the South American big TV network?
There are many ways of how this is done, and this is where the intellectual property or copyright issues come about. First, the content creator will have an agreement with the distributor on whether you're actually selling the entire content to the distributor, which means you are paid off once and you forget about it, or you license your content in a manner that, based on the kind of contract that you've signed, you will be paid based on the distributor's aspect of distribution of this content to various platforms as agreed and as targeted to the specific markets. So it is a whole business in itself where we have distributors ranging from both local and international, and their aim is actually to help the content creator create wealth or make money. Yes.
So is there guidance that happens? So, I mean, just take, for example, very many people working on an experiment, essentially what it is, because as the platform, I'm assuming, and please stop me if I'm wrong, that what you're trying to guarantee is that there's quality, sought-after content that then is sold at the market, right? That there will be more and more buyers as you go along. So is there some kind of guidance that then goes towards the content creator on this side, saying, you know what, this is what the feels of the market are right now. This is the kind of stuff that people want to consume. Telenovela, documentary, nature kind of thing. Or are you leaving it to the creative genius of the content creators and say, we're just providing the platform, bring whatever you have and we will sell? Or is there some kind of creative guidance that takes place?
Yeah, that's a very good question. First of all, an appreciation that the screen sector is a professional sector, and anytime you set out to create content, you have to undertake research. And this research should be able to provide you with insights on what your target market actually seeking. That will inform the kind of content you'll be able to produce and how your story will be told. Let me come back closer here in Kenya, where we have various communities and we have different types of stories that emanate from different regions of this country. One would actually set out to undertake research on how, for example, if you want to tell a story about the Turkanas, you have to undertake to understand exactly, when we talk about the Turkanas, what is the nature of the Turkanas, the kind of food they eat, where do they live, what are their key economic activities, and if you are telling a story about them, then who is the consumer of this content? If you've identified that after you create a story about the Turkanas, then all Kenyans will be able to watch this content, then you create this content for all Kenyans, having undertaken proper research and investing in it properly. So all I'm trying to say is that film, like any other economic activity, calls for proper planning, undertaking research, investing, and also being able to set out your marketing plan for distribution and commercialization. Yes.
Let's take a break at this point. We're having a conversation with Timothy Owase. He is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission, talking about the business of film, the economics of content creation in this digital era. The Kenya Film Commission has organized the Kalasha Film and TV market that's going to be taking place for 3 days between the 10th and the 12th of June. Where will it be?
At KICC.
Various exhibitors, various people across the entire film value chain will be in attendance. And is it open to everybody to attend?
So far, for one to participate at the Kalasha International Film and TV Market, you need to pay, as a delegate, 300 shillings per day or 700 shillings for the entire period.
Quite affordable.
Yes, and you can be able to sign up in good time through our social media tools, that is Twitter, Kenya Filmcom, Kenya Film Commission, Facebook, and Instagram.
700 bob for the entire 3 days.
Yes.
And the kind of wealth that you'll come out of there with, that is
huge.
A huge one. 7:30, the Kenya Revenue Authority would like you to know about the alternative dispute resolution mechanism.
Yes, so opportunities lie therein if you have an issue. So you get an email, right? You get communication that something is amiss with your payments, you're not up to date, etc., etc. Then you start to panic, right? And you say, okay, so now finally the day has come when these fellas are after me. Well, not necessarily. It's an opportunity for you to go and say, before they do actually come after you, for you to go and say, look, is there a way that we can have a look into this? Maybe the books are not quite right, but I'd like to make it right. So alternate dispute resolution with the KRA says, you can have an individual who can come in and mediate between yourself and the Kenya Revenue Authority and say, okay, if indeed you do have back taxes unpaid, let's come up with something that we can both abide by and we should be all right. Isn't it? And 90 days, this thing will be sorted out. You then have an opportunity to get, your issue sorted. If it's going to be an installment plan, you get to pay. Look, there's a lot of things that can come out as solutions just by having a conversation. And that's what it is. Come, have a conversation and figure out whatever messes would have been created.
Avoid long, drawn-out court processes. 7:30.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
At KTN Home, we are all about the action, so you can enjoy unstoppable, unbeatable, unrivaled, unmatched movies from Hollywood. Get your popcorn ready. Tune in to KTN Home and buckle up to experience a new world of entertainment from the comfort of your living room. Tune in to KTN Home every Monday to Thursday plus Sundays and catch Hollywood's finest movies from 10 p.m. for the time of your life.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi at 16, highs of 24 and lows of 16 today. It's partly sunny at 15 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 24, highs of 23 in a cloudy Nyeri, currently at 15. And it will be sunny in Eldoret for parts of the morning at 13, highs of 25. It's raining in Mombasa at 24, highs of 30 today. And we'll see highs of 30 in a wet Malindi as well at 26. 18 degrees and sunny conditions in Kisumu, highs of 28. And we'll see highs of 26 in a sunny Kakamega at the moment, coming to lows of 15. Kampala is sunny for now at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 17, and mostly sunny conditions at 22 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30. 7 degrees, slightly warmer in Johannesburg, highs of 14 and lows of 2 today, and it continues to rain in Lagos at 27 with highs of 31. 33 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa, currently at 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Okay, from all indications, folks, the Thika Superhighway is an absolute mess this morning. Folks complaining left, right, and center, literally, about what is going on here. Not quite sure what is causing it. We've got traffic that is backed up all the way because of that accident that we mentioned earlier at Githurai. It's tailing back to the Royal Bypass, guys. So use that as a picture in terms of what's happening. We're also looking at it going further towards the Eastern Bypass roundabout. Use the service lane from the same roundabout. It will probably get you in quicker. So folks been in traffic for about an hour because of that accident. And just in case you're using the Thika Superhighway, also going the outer ring way might be a little bit of a pickable today because of that traffic. All right, we'll take a look in what's happening in other parts of the city in a bit. Talk to us, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
25 minutes to 8.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Kenya Film Commission talking about the Kalasha Film and TV market 2022. That's going to be taking place between the 10th and the 12th of June at the KICC. Only 300 bob to attend for a day or 700 bob to attend for the entire 3 days. Everybody is feel free to come and participate in this particular fair. The economics of content creation in the digital era. This is what we are discussing this morning. So, Timothy, when you talk about the ability to create content. There are many people who now are just doing simple content creation. I have a ring light, I have a good phone camera, and I'm good to go. And, so it comes out as good content, good quality content, but it's small time. Like what you said, content maybe to be consumed in a day. But if you start now advancing in terms of the quality, then it brings in the issue of cost and access to everything that's required, access to proper cameras, access to better lighting, access to professional crew. Do we have places such as those in this country which even offer you facilities like studios? Tyler Perry with his, how many millions of acres does that man own?
For a whole academy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
An entire thing that is just a studio. All the other big studios that we see, Paramount, 20th Century, Warner Brothers, big studios. Do we have such in Kenya?
There are opportunities for such, but we are yet to have them. So we are encouraging investors to actually take this up as an opportunity. There is the Konza Metropolis, which is providing an avenue for anyone to invest and actually have such a mega studio in Kenya. So for those who are yearning to actually invest, the film sector provides you with that room to be able to do this. During the Kalasha International Film and TV market, we have the lead visual special effects of The Lord of the Rings, gentleman called Don Leon, who will be participating at Kalasha this year. And this is an avenue for one to actually understand how such a mega product can actually be produced, and also to provide an avenue for discussions on how you can be able to come and invest in Kenya, government providing you with incentives for you to do that. So when we talk about us being able to produce high quality content, that calls for so many other aspects. We would like to see more qualified screenwriters or script writers, producers, cinematographers, and all that participate within the entire value chain. And this can only happen when we have qualified those who've actually undertaken the art of filmmaking as a profession. This is being offered by many universities in Kenya today, Kenya Film School, among others. And also at Kenya Film Commission, we provide short-term training for those who participate in filmmaking using their mobile phones or simple gadgets. And for you to actually undertake the art of filmmaking in Kenya, it is also possible for you to not necessarily to have to invest in a camera, but you can be able to rent it out from organizations such as Canon, among others, so that you're able to undertake your business.
Yes. Is there collaboration between film school and then the commission? Because then I see that as a direct way through which all that you've learned in school, whether it's coming from the University of Nairobi or the communication schools of Daystar, USIU, etc., then to say bring then, because this is a practical career. It's not
true
something that's based in theory, right?
Yes.
It's practical, hands-on. You learn the art and then you do the art, basically.
Yes.
So is there a collaboration between the two to say that, by the time we're calling, we know that these are specific students who've gone through the learning over time, and now we're asking them to come and actually show their skill?
The commission is actually the link between the industry and the film schools. So there is collaboration between the commission and film schools in various ways. We undertake what we call industry placements. For example, those who qualify in film schools, we have a program within the commission that enables us to place these graduates to key production houses where they can be able to attain the actual practical skills. As you rightfully put it, film is not about theory. It's all about doing. So when you are in school, without practice, then learning becomes a challenge. The other measure of learning through practice is we would like to attract more big budget films shot on location in Kenya. And by participating in these productions, then you provide an avenue for many Kenyan young people who are yearning to join the industry to actually become professionals. Today we have so many professionals in this sector who've become real experts, and yet they never stepped in any film school. They only learned by virtue of participating on big productions in the country. So there is a linkage between film schools, Kenya Film Commission, and the film industry in general.
So apart from just the opportunity that we offer, what else does the government need to do, or what we as Kenya need to have in order to be attractive to people who might want to invest in this particular industry?
There is a lot that we are working on having as a country. The government, first of all, is working on realigning the sector legal framework through legislation so that we have a friendly film industry. We would like to have film incentives which will enable film investors to actually come in because we are able to compete with the rest in the world. You've had situations where a film producer is actually trying to assess between coming to Kenya to film his product and going to any other country. What is the difference? If Kenya has incentives, for example, let's say we have proposed that we will have 30% film incentives for anyone coming to film in Kenya, then that will give us a competing edge, which means if any other country that will compete with us doesn't have such a facility, then we'll have an upper hand. And the more productions we do in the country, then we stand to gain in a very big way because the screen sector provides an array of benefits that you cannot be able to compare to any other sector. We drive manufacturing, we drive agriculture, we also drive job creation in all other sectors, be it legal, banking, creative, enterprise, among others. So not just opportunities, but looking at the benefits we are able to accrue. And from those benefits, we have a duty to actually attract more investors in the sector. And those investors will be able to come if there are incentives. So incentives is a key word here. And also opening up room for funding productions. Yes.
You mentioned something that I think is extremely important because if we look at the way in which film has developed, I mean, some of the big names of films, documentaries that have been done from the Kenyan space, the funding has been put in by a lot of foreign funding.
Yes.
Now, what space then can government take up here, even if it's partnerships? Even if it's partnerships with others who come in and say, well, this is the kind of content that we want to create, and we'd like to see Kenyan filmmakers involved in this process, and then they throw their financial muscle behind it. Where does the opportunity for that lie within these spaces to say that, look, a lot of filmmakers today wish that they could put their ideas on the reel, but they cannot do this because they cannot afford everything that it takes, whether we're talking about equipment, whether we're talking about personnel, travel, even doing a recce, for example, of where you want to shoot is an expensive affair, and it needs, really a lot of buck when we're talking about this. So what space then is there for collaborations, especially when it comes to funding of film?
Thank you very much for that. There are a number of avenues that we can actually be able to fund films, and the role of government here is to create that avenue. One of them is to open space for what we call co-production treaties. For example, I look at a country like Nigeria, where we have a thriving film industry, and the film industry in Nigeria has actually positioned itself and confirmed to the rest of the world that the film industry can actually be number one economic earner for a country. So if Kenya does what we call co-production with Nigeria, then we'll have Nigerian producers and Kenyan producers combining effort, which means that the Nigerian money can be combined with the Kenyan shillings for us to be able to produce content. Another component, and that is driven by government, another component is for the government to provide what we call a guarantee, credit guarantee scheme. This will enable banks to open up the space for funding local producers. And when this is done, of course, commercial banks will join into the industry and feel free to fund filmmakers other than looking at filmmakers a risk component. Number 3, establishment of a film fund that is specific to the filmmaking business. This will be able to enable stories to be told in whichever way and form that we want. So these are things that we are working on, and with the support of the Kenya government, we are very certain that we are going to conclude on this particular issue of funding and open up the space for storytelling in the country.
Sure. I mean, and then just even looking at, the guarantee of quality as well, who champions that? Because, anybody can sit and film something in, in the four walls of their bedroom and then put it out there. So what's the guarantee of quality that you're saying, look, let's start to get to a place whereby anything that comes, off the belt of Kenyan filmmakers is a guarantee of quality. It doesn't matter whether it's, for the big screen. It doesn't matter whether it's your, run-of-the-mill TV, that it will be quality and that can be guaranteed. Who champions this particular process?
Thank you very much. When it comes to championing the quality of productions, I think this is an affair that is meant to be championed by the producer. Government cannot dictate what you want to produce. The only thing the commission does is to guide and provide you with the insights as to why it's important for you to produce content that can compete with others in the market. Remember, any producer, you are telling your story in Nairobi, but there is somebody who is telling his story in Lagos or in Johannesburg. They are competing for the same space. So for you to be able to compete at that level of international, then you need to actually up your game in terms of quality. And quality means content that can be consumed with ease by anyone who is actually seeking to access this kind of content and pay for it, the value that you deserve. Yes.
I think also the market will dictate the quality because the market keeps pushing for
the demand.
Keeps creating that demand for better and better quality. Looking back at what you were saying, for example, the Kenya Film Commission pushing for support of, much of collaboration between Nollywood and Kenyan producers and all the other things that you've talked about. I get a sense sometimes that when you talk about film and the Kenya Film Commission, there are those that think that the job of the Kenya Film Commission is to bring foreigners to come and use Kenya as a filming location and not necessarily promoting a culture of film production and content consumption within the borders. And I think the latter is a bigger and a bigger mandate that you may want to take, where you encourage people to create content as much as they are creating content, encourage people to consume local content as much as they want to consume local content, which then drives that industry to grow. If we look at, let's say, Showmax or MultiChoice and what MultiChoice have done with the various platforms of Africa Magic and the rest, because of having that platform where there is content, then that has generated demand. Netflix as well generated demand for content, and as people are comparing the content that's available on Showmax, then they're able to tell, well, yeah, I like Crime and Justice because of the quality that's there, as opposed to this other one, which, and people can clearly see the difference. I'm thinking of Tanzania and the kind of content that they produce in Tanzania and the kind of content that they consume in Tanzania, and I don't think we can compare with Kenya. I think in terms of their consumption of their own content, they are further ahead of us. You may correct me.
Thank you very much, Eric. First of all, is to appreciate your comment on our mandate. Our mandate is actually focused on both local and international. We promote the development of the local film industry while at the same time attracting foreign productions into the country. And during the Kalasha International Film and TV market, I would like to confirm that we will be launching the first ever mapped local locations, Kenyan locations, basically, which are meant to showcase what we have to offer as far as locations are concerned, which kind of crew we have, the sceneries, among others. So yes, it is critical that we promote the local productions because we would like to have the skilled manpower, at the same time, key storytellers who are able to tell stories that can actually traverse the world. That cannot happen if we are not championing the growth of the local film industry. As much as we attract productions of foreign content in Kenya, we also want our own content to be consumed elsewhere, and that cannot happen if we are not telling our stories. So we champion both. Comparing Tanzania and Kenya in terms of local content, I would like to also reaffirm the fact that at Kenya Film Commission, we have various programs, and these programs are geared towards championing local content in line with the Kika Act of 2013, which provides that about 40 to 60% free-to-air broadcast has to air local content, but that is not enough. We would like to see to it that be it pay TV, VODs, among others, are actually airing local content, because most consumers of this content would like to consume content or stories that they can be able to resonate with. So we have an audience development program at Kenya Film Commission that is purely to push for the consumption of local content. We are also establishing film clubs in schools to see to it that content consumers and creators are actually nurtured from that youngest level, so that as we get towards the university and joining the industry, we are not really hitting blanks. We would like to be very deliberate in a manner that if you are in a high school and you've chosen to become a dancer or a storyteller, let that be your perfect career that is supported by all parents and the community at large. Yes.
You said something that I think is crucial in all of this, and that's the consumption. Yes. But the consumption by local markets, I believe, is one of the drivers to the successes of film in any country. Right. And maybe you can, show us how this can actually happen based on what KFC is doing at this time, when you have, markets like the Kalasha International Film and TV market. Because the examples that you give of Nigeria, for example, the first and ultimate consumer of Nollywood is Nigerians within the country. Yes. Anything else is surplus, right? So you have 600 films being produced in Nigeria over the period of 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, that's the churn out that you get. But the initial public relations is for locals.
Correct.
In the cinemas, and there's a whole PR about it. Do you think such a model then, because the realization that, you don't have to then focus on the almighty oil for foreign or even local investment, that you can focus on other things? And that realization has come quickly. What do you think can be done here? Because even when we talk about local cinemas, the question that Eric was asking about, are we seeing more cinemas being erected around the country that could actually then be drivers for this content that we're talking about? So it doesn't necessarily just have to be that local content is FTA, even on VOD, but that it is really in your face. And you can actually have some true gems from Kenyan creators shown locally.
Yes, that is a very good one. Allow me to say that I have a program at Kenya Film Commission. We call it My County, My Story. And it's all about storytelling from the communities. We encourage championing of film festivals at each and every county in Kenya. We have 47 counties. And it is possible that we can actually have at least 2 stories told every year in each county, which will mean that we will have, if it is 1 story per count, we have 47 stories told, stories that can be sold through film festivals, regional film festivals. Then championing of consumption of local content is a reality, and it's possible. And as you rightfully put it, when you are consuming more local content, then that provides room for even foreign film business to thrive within the country. Absolutely. So we are actually pushing that, because we would like Kenyans to tell more Kenyan stories and also consume more local stories, expanding to East Africa. This will provide us an avenue where the better the quality of the story and the more the stories are available, then it also gives us room for those who are actually consuming this content to be able to pay for it.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
You also talked about locations.
Yes.
What does locations mean?
Basically, when you are telling your story, at any given point, you make choices. And these choices are focused on the location. And what does the location entail? It entails the physical evidence of where you would like your film to be shot on, the availability of equipment, availability of crew and cast, and also the country in terms of processes. If you are coming to film into the country here in Kenya, or if you are going to film in Masai Mara, you need to interact with the county government of Narok. What are the processes? Producers look at all these aspects or as factors of production. If I'm going to film on your location, what are the restrictions? Am I going to undergo a bureaucratic process before I can be able to undertake this process? And how can I access, if it is a savanna grassland, if it is, let's say, coastal region, what is it exactly that will the country provide that I can be able to access all these facilities? If there are game parks, are there charges that inhibit me from accessing? And what is it that we are talking about? We have the big five. How do I capture, if they are the national parks, the big five without any restrictions and without interfering with aspects of conflict between wildlife and human beings? All this culminates into aspects of film locations that a producer always looks at.
I know I've seen some stories about Embu County and the Embu County government going big on encouraging local productions, even taking some of the young people who have starred in various films and TV series and employing them into the county government. People like Omosh of Tahiti High working for the Embu County government. So what is it that the county government of Embu, for example, has done?
Okay, thank you. The county government of Embu has an MOU with the Kenya Film Commission, and we made it our mission to sensitize the county government, starting with the governor, to appreciate the role of the film in growing the Embu County as an economic activity. And we did this practically by funding one of the films, Medicine Man, which was actually set on location in Embu. And indeed, we encouraged the county government of Embu through their economists to document the benefits that will accrue from this particular production. The film was set on location in Embu. It took about 2 months to be produced. It had a crew of about 250 people. All these were some local, some were from Nairobi and other parts of the country, who were staying in Embu, basically meaning that they were eating and sleeping in Embu, spending all their income at that particular point. And the circulation of the economy, in terms of the funds, that meant that the Embu county government was actually getting revenue from this production. So my challenge to the county government is that, just like Embu County, it is possible that each county can be able to allocate funds for the films or screen sector, which will be able to give us room for the film industry to thrive as a collective effort between the national and county government, without forgetting that the creatives themselves also have to appreciate this sector as a real film business.
That's true.
Yeah.
Timothy, we thank you very much for joining us again today. Timothy Owase is the CEO of the Kenya Film Commission. We've been talking about the Kalasha Film and TV market that's going to be taking place on the 10th, from the 10th to the 12th of June at KICC. If you'd like to attend for just a day, it's 300 bob. If you'd like to attend for the 3 days, it's 700 bob. Go to the Kenya Film Commission social media handles and you'll get all the details. Have a lovely day, Timothy. Keep it here for more conversations. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission has cleared Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandago to vie for the Uasin Gishu Senate seat. Mandago, a UDA nominee for the seat in the August 9 polls, presented his nomination papers at the IEBC county headquarters, where he was given a green light to officially begin his campaign. Speaking after he was cleared, Mandago said his move to go for the Senate seat was inspired by the need to strengthen devolution, having experienced firsthand as a pioneer governor its shortcomings in terms of resources still being held on by the national government, especially in the health and agriculture sectors. Baringo Senator and KANU chairperson Gideon Moi has also been cleared to defend his seat. Usawa Kawote presidential candidate Governor Mwangi wa Iria is now accusing the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission of selling his signatures to other candidates days after his name was removed from the nomination register. Wairia demanded to know why his name had been removed from the IEBC schedule, yet he submitted all the initial requirements. Wairia insisted that he met all the requirements, including bringing signatures from supporters in 24 counties as required by the Commission, and even the Commission acknowledged receipt. The Murang'a governor also alleged that there is a conspiracy by the electoral agency to ensure that only 3 candidates make it to the presidential ballot by disqualifying the rest on technicalities.
They know my candidature is likely to hurt very many people, and I'm likely to win. What must have happened, they have been told clearly. Me, I'm the specific one. Everybody else, I was with Walter Mongane. Wote wako Wajakoya wamekuja wanapigiwa salute, wameambiwa kwa sababu mahesabu itageuka. These people are set to reduce the number to about 3. We are not going to allow a fraudulent electoral process. All Kenyans have rights. All communities have rights. We are going to do everything possible to make sure that this electoral process is not going to be fraudulent.
Deputy President William Ruto now says Azimio la Umoja is a coalition that brings together people without an idea on how to solve problems facing Kenyans. Speaking during the Kajiado Economic Forum, Deputy President William Ruto said Azimio leaders are still stuck with the 3 challenges identified in 1963, which are ignorance, disease and poverty. Ruto maintains that the greatest challenges facing the country 60 years after independence are unemployment, inequality and how to grow business. The government has set aside 2.4 billion shillings to help eradicate neglected tropical diseases in the country. This is in an effort to mitigate the effects of these diseases to develop the scale-up universal health coverage. Health Principal Secretary Susan Muchacha says statistics show that 25 million Kenyans are at risk of getting the diseases. Muchacha, however, noted that the government is fully committed to exploring innovative ways to accelerate progress towards ending neglected tropical diseases by the year 2030. Now, the county government of Mombasa has partnered with Bloomberg Philanthropies, an international organization, to implement road safety initiatives aimed at reducing road carnage by 50% by the year 2025. Reports by the National Transport and Safety Authority indicates that the country loses 4,000 people annually through road accidents.
Parliament have to adopt a few regulations and recommendations that we want to give to them. Sometimes we're having a problem to enforce some because the law doesn't exist for such. So we're working together with them and their expertise to see where we can sharpen those so that whenever we have enforcement, we have regulations to back it.
The main emphasis is not for you to be in a road accident and get to the hospital. We are trying to stop you from getting to the hospital. So we're trying to avoid that accident from happening.
Now, the National Environment Management Authority has intensified a crackdown on single-use plastic bags in the Nyanza region following the resurgence of the banned product. 3 people were arrested after they were found in possession of the bags during a swoop by NEM officials in Kisumu. The operation, led by NEM Senior Principal Officer Titus Semiyu, suggested and targeted retailers and traders using plastic bags to package goods 5 years after the ban. Semiyu said the traders were using boda riders to sell and distribute the bags, making it difficult to track them. And Taita Taveta Constituency Member of Parliament Naomi Shaban and Worldwide Foundation for Nature CEO Mohamed Awar handed over a BMZ climate change adaptation project to the community. During the ceremony at Lumi Solar Power Borehole in Taita Taveta Sub-County, Shaban noted that the Taveta NGCDF had also stepped up efforts and brought the water much closer to the people, establishing 7 communal water points. Speaking on the development, Hannah Mowio said that they had benefited from the project because women and girls now do not have to trek for over 10 kilometers in search of water. Kenya's 7 million shillings was spent on the project. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5.
Okay,
Spice
guys,
FM.
today is an absolute crazy day in terms of traffic. We're looking at coming off of Thika Superhighway, hot and heavy, quite a lot of it, going towards the junction of Outer Ring. And if you're trying to get to the Eastern Bypass as well, coming off of Thika Superhighway, absolute madness is what we're looking at today. There have been a couple of accidents. Thika Road from Clayworks is hell. Somebody's really complaining. Well, not just one person, but quite a number of people. We're looking at 3-4 lanes and it's moving really slowly. In some parts, not moving at all. So we've also heard that there will be some campaign rallies within the city today. So the traffic already started early. Add some campaign rallies. I think we're getting up to about the 7th or 8th circle of hell at this point. Okay, and it looks like it's going to get crazier. An eye on things today. Let us know where you might be stuck. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE. On Twitter, text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes
8
in
minutes after
punching
8.
up.
Good morning, and
not
how
down.
are you doing? Welcome to
This
Kenya's
is the
biggest
Situation
conversation.
Room,
If you're just joining
the
us,
only way to
this
start
is
your
the
day.
fada of the show today. We've been here since 6 a.m. Happy Tuesday. It's the final day of the month. Whatever month you think it is, it's March 2022. Tomorrow, yes, it's Madaraka Day. It's the 1st of June, but it still be March. C.T. Muga has the day's proverb.
Yes, this is our final proverb from Tanzania. One who bathes in cold water willingly will not feel cold.
One who bathes in cold water willingly will not feel cold.
No.
If you choose something, you choose to go through a certain process, you will bear everything.
That is what it ought to be, but
all
it
the
isn't.
discomfort that comes with it.
It isn't always so.
Yeah?
No, because this is what happens, and then you get to a point where you feel you're right. It's your constitutional right to complain. Well, this is what,
and that's what the proverb reminds you. Ulijitekea mwenyewe.
Mwenyewe. Yes. So here you are saying, yes, I know.
Ukayavulia nguo, haya sasa yaoge.
Here you are saying, I know I said the water was cold, but was it supposed to be this cold, really?
I didn't mean this.
It's cold. I mean, hey, brother. Hey.
Manageable.
I just said not warm.
No, it's cold. Not very cold like this one.
So once you start...
My friend, it's not complicated. Consequences.
Go through it. Live with the consequences
cold water
of your
has never
choices.
been warm water. Cold water is just still cold water.
Cold water has never been warm water.
And warm water is not hot water.
Hot water, yes.
Okay. So there are those who willingly chose to take a bath with cold water. And they decided, I'd like to be president of the Republic of Kenya. Okay? See, that is number one. You're told, all right, if you'd like to take a bath, my friend, first of all, you remove your clothes. Said, clothes, I will remove.
They're mine.
Yeah, they're mine.
I can put them on, I can remove them.
Then Chebukati comes and says, what we mean is you remove everything. No. I cannot remove everything. But
See, I've removed the coat.
There are people.
I've removed the tie. See, it's enough.
There are people who will see me.
The people will see me.
Told, no. Shoes, socks, we've gotten that one, but now remove shirt and then continue downwards.
And they've said, no,
we're not doing that.
I will comply. So people have been complying and going to the IEBC to take a bath with cold water. But then they turn up there in their undergarments. And Chebukati has been telling them, boss.
Everything means?
Everything.
Everything. Birthday suit variety of everything.
Hapana, sitoki hapa. Stoki hapa. So, very many of the initial list, so 55 had got into that, point of actually submitting their names and those of their running mates to vie as president. Yes?
Yes.
Of those, they're just falling one by one. And it's most of them because of this requirement. Simple, basic requirement. You shall you shall prove to the commission and to the country that you've got support across the country. You shall get at least 2,000 supporters from each county in at least half of the counties. So 2,000 in at least 24 counties across the country. 48,000 people who append their signatures. They write their ID numbers. Na isitoshe, they give you copies of their IDs.
Yes.
Now, that isitoshe bit, that is the undergarment. Copy of ID. No way, Bwana. Why are you expecting people to give you copies of IDs?
I've signed, I've written down my ID number, and you want a copy?
These are my people.
Nope.
They are my people. What are you talking about? So many of those who have presented to the IEBC are falling short of that one requirement. Many of them, including the governor of Murang'a County, Mwangi wa Iria, who is the party leader of the Usawa kwa Wote Party, who went to the IEBC and presented the documents, and he said, I've presented and met all the requirements. IEBC has told him, no. Now, Mwangi wa Iria was among those who are the IEBC, who are the bombers of Kenya yesterday, and they were complaining. And he said, we presented all the documents as required. We do not understand why we are being disqualified at this point. But then Wafula Chebukati says, the governor failed to produce all the signatures as required by law before the May 25th deadline. He says Wairia raised the required 2,000 signatures. Yes, it's okay, got the 2,000 signatures, but only from 5 counties instead of 24 counties.
Where? So you got 2,000?
Wairia submitted 24 bundles. But in those bundles, there were 22 documents from 22 counties. And upon further checking on the initial verification, that's where the IEBC people found that only 5 were compliant. It was layers.
So essentially what you're saying is the people who determine that you're compliant is not you, the candidate, and your peoples. It is the IEBC.
Yes.
So just because you think you are compliant doesn't mean you are compliant. Do I get the gist of it?
That is it.
Okay.
Now, Wairia was complaining and saying, look, you're saying all these things. How about we just go ahead and together verify what you're talking about?
A point?
I presented 24 bundles. Okay. I am sure in those 24 bundles, there were 24 counties. You're saying 24 bundles had 22 counties. Out of those 22 counties, only 5 were compliant.
What then? Of course, then questions arise in terms of then what is the threshold for this said compliance, right? So only 5 complied, meaning what? That per county that you submitted, you did not get up to 2,000, or that you had repeat names.
So you could have had names, but names accompanied by signature, accompanied by copy of ID.
Right. So the compliance goes across board. It could be that this one, there was no copy of their ID, or there could have been a name, there could have been a repeat name, there could have been not enough names. And what we are saying is that certifiably, the IEBC was able to go through all of these things and find that then you didn't meet it.
Yes.
So,
but that's what they say. They must also prove that what they say is actually what the reality is.
The IEBC.
Yes.
Because the process that you use, this individual, whomever they may be, has brought to you, cocksure from where they are.
And that's what they claim.
Yes. From where they are, very sure that they've done the due diligence and they've given you everything that you have required. You are countering that position then by saying, actually, you know what?
You didn't
meet it. So you must also show me. You know how they used to say in high school?
Yes.
Show me the working.
How
did you arrive here to show that I got the answer correct or
Yes.
wrong? IEBC also then bears the responsibility to tell these folks who are obviously in a bad way now that
This is what happened here.
This is what happened. This in this county 014, you only actually gave us 1,000 names. The other 1,000 that you gave us were duplicates of the first. You have to show it.
IEBC understands this process. Haven't we seen situations where people protest? Votes. And IEBC, okay, folks, let's recount. and the ballot boxes are brought in and the votes are counted again. We've seen it. IEBC, same people, not different ones. We don't have two IEBCs in the country, it's just one. Now, surely, is it too much to ask if a presidential candidate says, guys, just let's go over these things so that you can show me exactly what it is?
Because you did it anyway. You went through the process in order to be able to tell said individual that they did not meet the threshold.
Yes.
So you did it anyway. So all you need to do is show them the working.
I don't think
it's a bad thing.
Not they should. They must.
It's not a difficult thing to do.
IEBC has invited them. You can come and verify all this. But you see, now there's about taking time. However, let's talk to one of the candidates who actually got cleared yesterday. Walter Mungare of, what is the political party for Walter Mungare? You know it.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to say it.
You want to determine whether I actually know it or not?
Of course.
Okay.
Anyway, it's okay. So Walter Mungare is among those who got cleared yesterday to vie for the presidency. Yesterday, after he appeared before the IEBC, he joins us on the line. Walter, good morning. Are you there?
I am very much here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning, Walter. And it's good to talk to you. You know, CT has always known that you are in the Umoja Summit Party, but this time he's just playing dodge here with us. He just doesn't want to confirm to everybody. So, yes, Walter is with the Umoja Summit Party, and congratulations for, getting your clearance yesterday at the IEBC. Take us through that process. Because we're hearing all these conversations about, do you need to present signatures? Do you need to present names? Do you need to present copies of IDs? What did you do?
Thank you very much, Eric and the team. You guys always do a fantastic job. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to just, have a conversation this morning. First, I want to empathize with many of the aspirants who are out here looking for clearance to serve the country. And to be honest, it's a very sensitive matter. People invest emotionally, people invest economically, people put money in this process. I can tell you it's not easy to get 2,000 signatures across the country, and it requires diligence, it requires patience, it requires for you to put money on it. Sometimes people don't want to give you their ID because of what we call data protection and everything else. And they're suspicious. We are a country that is so negative that we're suspicious of even a process. And we are so full of negativity that even when someone is asking you, I need this to be done, and I need you to give me your ID for this process, somebody first is looking at you from a negative lens. So I guess, again, I want to request you and the great team that you have, maybe Spice needs to start to think of how do we increase the happiness index of this country, because we are sad people. We are too negative. Every morning you wake up, when I'm listening to you, it's negative. When I'm watching TV, it's negative. When I'm looking at the clips, it's negative, to the point where I believe whatever we consume is what we become. So thanks for asking for me to take you through the process. And as you rightfully put it, it's a process. And in most cases, you will get technically knocked out based on the process, not the outcome. For instance, when you're told to produce your ID, let me tell you, as a person who went through that process yesterday, I just realized I have my ID. Then my running mate has her ID, and then our proposer has left her ID on her purse in the seat. We didn't know that her ID is required in terms of presentation. You get a small technicality, which is part of the process, can actually knock you out, because what IBC would hide under or will use as a cover is the law.
Right.
The law requires you to produce a valid document, and you didn't produce. You can't tell somebody that, it's at home. I forgot it at home. And so what IEBC can do is to tell you, okay, fine, you go, I'm giving you the 2nd of June to come back and bring it, which means it's a fair process, that we gave you a fair chance for you to go and get what you needed to get as a top-up. It's not that you don't have your ID, go away. If you don't have your ID, come on. Now you have to. Now, remember, this is taxpayers' money. When IEBC sits on a process, they're using public resources.
Yep.
So they have allocated you today, like you have allocated me this airtime right now. I can't tell you I'm in the kitchen now. Let me come to you guys later, because your 9 o'clock has full other things lined up. So every time you cause or a delay is caused, it's also costing people money, because IEBC will now need to sit again to listen to a person or a situation that they would have handled.
Walter, just to take you back, sorry to cut you short. So you are a candidate who's been nominated by a political party, the Umoja Summit Party.
Yes.
There's been this, let's say, misconception that it's only independent candidates who are required to present copies of the 48,000 IDs. Why are you required to do the same?
It's a requirement and a qualification for any presidential candidate.
Okay.
And all those qualifications and expectations are outlined, that the candidate must submit the following items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all of them lined up.
Yep.
And what we did as Umoja Summit was to be meticulous in our thinking. For instance, Latiff, when somebody says certified copies of degree certificate authenticated or equated by Commission for University Education, for example, it means when you look at that line alone, it means 1, there's the degree, 2, there's the certification, 3, there's authentication, 4, there's equation by the Commission of for University Education. That means a serious candidate must look at that line. It's not just a degree certificate. There are things that must accompany, to the point where you have to notarize the same. Now, if somebody tells you, for example, as Umoja Summit, as a candidate, bring your nomination certificate from a fully registered political party. Eric, it means, other than just the nomination certificate, please carry a registration certificate for the political party.
Yep.
Because somebody can ask you, okay, fine, you have a nomination, but is that party registered?
Can you prove that the party is registered?
Can you prove that the party is registered? So as Umoja Summit, we had to go through one item by another and sit as a team and say, what are these things that we need to put in order so that we make IEBC's life better and our lives better?
I mean,
so we were all required to produce the support as a presidential candidate,
right?
Which we did.
Right. Walter, even looking at, what you then did to be able to get you cleared by the IEBC yesterday, and then looking at what IEBC is saying other aspirants did not do, I'm just looking at it from the point of view where you have just now. Do you think then that IEBC owes an explanation to the letter? The same way you've gone through this process that you've just described, whereby to the letter you had to meet the threshold. Should they then not explain to other aspirants, this is where you went wrong, even if the time has elapsed? Are they not owed an explanation?
Let me, and I will not speak for IEBC, but I will tell you this. In fact, it's the owners of both parties to defend a position. One, when we deliver our items and documentation, we are given an acknowledgement receipt showing that you have delivered A, B, C, D. All right?
Yep.
As we said, it's a process. We are given a period of time upon which, when it elapses, then you can say, well, we gave you enough time. So I think the owners of on the IEBC to prove that you didn't bring what they're saying you didn't bring. All right? If, for example, Honorable Mwangi wa Iria delivered his booklets and they were signed off as received. It's the honors of IBC to prove anything otherwise. Because as far as Mwangi wa Iria is concerned, he delivered. Now, to make it very clear on your question, the truth of the matter and the fact here remains that the person who's the custodian of the record that we have given is IBC. And IBC has the responsibility not only to tell you that this didn't come, to prove to you that it didn't come.
Okay. Let's bring in one of your challengers in this presidential race, Ruben Kigame, who was also at the IEBC yesterday, and he got frustrated. Ruben, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, Du. Good morning, Walter. Good morning. I don't know who else. Is City there?
City is here.
Good morning, City.
Morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
I'm not well.
Ruben, take us through your experience. What happened at Bomas of Kenya yesterday?
Oh, but first, a quick correction. We are not challengers. Walter is my friend.
Hey, are you running on the same ticket? Will you be joint presidents?
Well, if by same ticket we mean same party, no. But anyway, so
okay.
I think for me it's the chronology of the events, but also what it is I have gone through that I should lay on the table.
Okay.
So the chronology is we all met with Chebukati on the 23rd after being gazetted. And for the first time, he gives us all these requirements that we must fulfill in 2 days. So by the 25th, we need to have at least appeared before the commission with evidence of these signatures and ID copies. With the caveat that the commission will look at them. If there is any need for top-up and so on, you'll be given a period of time to do so.
Yeah.
So I appeared with mine on the 25th. And I got the acknowledgement slip that Bwana Mongara is talking about. They picked 3 of my booklets and told me that my material was in the wrong format and that I needed to bring the material in the right format, but also top up the rest.
Okay.
And that I needed to do that by the 29th of May, which was last Sunday. I still have the acknowledgement slip stamped. So on Sunday at 1 p.m., having worked day and night, it's the printing process that is really the issue. It takes so much time. We're using like 6 printers on at my center and several cyber cafes to just get it done. Massive printing. So I got everything ready and drove to Bomas on Sunday, the 29th at 1 p.m. with all my boxes. And I have put video clips of the evidence online. So I begin to present, move from office to office, officer to officer. Where do I present this? They were on lunch break. They came back. Until I left Bomas at 11 p.m., they had not received my material. I still have it 3 meters from where I'm talking to you.
What was the reason as to why they didn't?
So that is the first anomaly. And all I wanted to know on Sunday until I left was why wouldn't they receive my material having told me I could top up and do it in the right format? So that is the first problem. The second problem is that Chebukati was at Bomas on Sunday. So they tried to get me audience with him and told me to wait in the lobby, he would see me. I sat there obediently. Chebukati took off and left the center. He did not see me. But At 10 p.m., somebody asked for my email address. And a few minutes later, I see an email coming to my box from Chebukati, indicating I had not complied. So that is the first step of my complaint.
It's very many Ruben, if you don't mind, let's take a quick break because it's time for us to take a short break and then we continue just to get the chronology and also to hear the same whether Walter had some challenges as he got cleared yesterday. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. We are talking to Walter Mongare. He's been cleared to run for president in the August 9th election under the Umoja Summit Party. Ruben Kigame, who's aspiring to be the president, was told by the IEBC that he's not yet complied. So he is still going through the process. And we want to understand the challenges that the candidates are going through with the IEBC. 28 minutes to 9. Also reminding you about Kenya Revenue Authority and their call to you to come and talk to them in case of a dispute. If you're going through some dispute resolution, dispute with the Kenya Revenue Authority, you've gone through the tribunal. Instead of taking the challenge further to the courts, you can actually opt for alternative dispute resolution. They have an arbiter in the room with the KRA and you discuss these issues. See how you can resolve them without taking the lengthy court route. 90 days, the issue is resolved, and it's a win-win for everybody. We'll be back shortly.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 16. Partly sunny at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 14. And it's cloudy in Nyeri at 16. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 15. 13 will be the low in a sunny Eldoret, currently at 16, highs of 25. It's now raining in Mombasa at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And at 27, Malindi, raining as well, highs of 30 and lows of 26. At 21, Kisumu, sunny conditions. 28 will be the high, lows of 18. And at 19, it's sunny in Kakamega, going to highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's mostly sunny at 20 in Kampala, highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 30 in a sunny Dar es Salaam, currently at 24. 6 degrees and sunny conditions in Johannesburg, highs of 14 and lows of 2, and the rain continues in Lagos at 25, going to highs of 31. 33 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa, currently at 23.
Welcome to SpiceFM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the
crazy traffic conditions 2 days in a row, back to back, and it doesn't look fun at all. So the Eastern Bypass taking a big hit because of what's happening on the thicker superhighway. And so we've got that outer ring in both directions. Absolute madness today. An accident took place much earlier in the morning, and that is what is affecting traffic. So if you're able to get past outer ring, you'll be able to get then through to right around Allsops, but then it's going to stop you as you're then going towards the Pangani underpass. Kiambu Road is really crazy. I think all of that is inbound traffic. I don't know how many lanes we are at now, but probably 4 and counting from all indications. Other parts of the city, not too bad. We'll keep an eye on things. Help us out here as well, folks. Talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It continues at 23 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM on YouTube.
94.4 SpiceFM.
The Situation Room this morning, talking to presidential candidate Walter Mung'are of the Umoja Summit Party and Ruben Kigame, who is an aspirant who is talking about the frustration that he's gone through with the IEBC. So, Ruben, you've told us you spent time on Sunday at Bomas of Kenya. You also wanted to see and get word from the IEBC chairperson. You did not manage to speak to him. They did not pick your documents. And later at night, you get an email telling you that, no, you have not qualified. You have not supplied all the required documentation. So then what next?
Yeah, so the email address subject was non-compliance. So non-compliance... without the commission receiving my documents, and by documents, Eric, we are not talking just about the signatures and ID copies.
Yep.
By documents, you also, would need to look at certificates. You need to look at KRA clearance, and the clearance for the EACC and all these other things. Now, when I did not get audience for this, for the receiving of my signatures, I also checked where I could find somebody to book to now present the other documents. Well, none of that happened. So let's move to Monday. Monday morning, I drive to Bomas of Kenya because from the schedule, I knew that Wajakoya was scheduled to meet the chairman at 8 a.m. And my friend Walter later in the day. And so I knew the chairman would be there. So I went there just shortly after 7:30 in the morning. Well, at the gate, I was barred by security and told that I cannot go in. There is express word from the chair that no aspirant should enter Bomas today. That was yesterday. So I was told to go to Anniversary Towers, where the office of the IEBC is. So I went to Anniversary Towers. I was told I would get audience there. I went to the chairman's office. He was not there. Asked to see any of the commissioners. None was there. So I requested to see the legal team. I was told, go to 7th floor, you'll get to see the legal team. I sat there, one after the other. They did not see me. Took a break, went for a cup of tea, went to 21st floor because I knew that that's where Mr. Sunkuli's office was. Sunkuli was not there. I was told, go back to 7th floor and talk to the director of legal. Well, I waited there. He did not see me. Instead, sent word that my case was too difficult. The only one person that could take care of it is my returning officer, Bwana Chebukati. So I asked the emissary that was sent to me, how does he know my case is difficult without listening to me? Anyways, I was told to go to 7th floor. Chebukati is there. He will see me. I went, 6th floor. So I went back to 6th floor. Chebukati was not there. So anyway, the story is long. I left Anniversary Towers without any audience.
Do you know, Ruben, what you had not presented? What is it that you are required to present that you did not present the first time you went to the IEBC? Was it the signatures? Was it your certificate? Was it the duly filled out forms? What exactly was the shortfall?
All I needed to present and was told I can complete by the 29th was the booklets with the signatures, as well as copies of the IDs, which I still have. They will not take. They did not take on Sunday. Up to now, they have not taken. I still have them.
So you have all the 48,000 ID copies?
That would be correspondent to 24 counties. I have 27.
Okay. How did you receive, Ruben, how did you receive this communication? The initial communication saying then that they would give you up until the 29th to then rectify whatever the issue was. How did you receive that particular communication?
There were several of us from my team. So two of my team members went in, and this information was given to them by a gentleman called Patrick from the IEBC.
Word of mouth.
And a lady, yes, and a lady whose name I forget. But we also walked away with a duly stamped form of the documents that had been received.
Okay.
So, and on Sunday, when I went to Bomas of Kenya, Patrick acknowledged that that was the case, and then indicated he couldn't decide on my case, only Chebukati could. Well, so Chebukati has not seen me. So that is the first thing. Why wouldn't the commission give me audience? But the second thing, and very quickly, is that there is something that is unique to me that is not unique to someone like Walter or the other candidates. And that is that the IEBC actually does acknowledge some kind of affirmative action when it comes to youth, women, and persons living with disability. That is why, for example, instead of paying a nomination fee of 200,000, women, youth, and someone like me need to pay 100,000.
Okay.
But I needed to bring this caveat in because even with the acknowledgement that some of us may have a bit of a challenge in terms of the actual process, which I think is the implication of that provision, I have not bought into that kind of approach when dealing with signatures, when dealing with documentation. I mean, I go to school like everybody else. I will not ask to be excused from not having a degree or whatever else.
Right.
And so the least the commission can do is receive my signatures, not because I have not worked for them. I worked hard to get them. And then let me be disqualified like everybody else, because this is a competitive office that implies I need to prove that I can be president of this country.
So what are you going to do next, Ruben?
So continue to seek audience, because that is the least I can do in terms of peaceful exchange. Beyond that, of course, I'll be headed to court, because the commission needs to compel to do justice. I mean, injustice against one is really injustice against all. And then secondly, the process needs to not just be fair, but also be seen to be fair.
Sure.
I don't think the process has been fair to me. And that, of course, calls into question everything else IEBC is doing. Why is it they are doing this to me? What are they going to do on the 9th of August? The credibility of the commission is on the line.
But Ruben, they have cleared other candidates. They have cleared Walter, who was on the line with us, and you heard him say what he also went through. He was meticulous in preparation of his documents. He knew what he needed to do.
I think that would be judging me before the time. To say he was meticulous.
I'm just saying that we cannot really judge because of your experience. We cannot go out and say what is IEBC then preparing to do for August 9th.
No. For me, if the process is not fair at this stage, of course, it leaves the question unresolved. And so if the IEBC is not seen to be fair to me now, I mean, if you're not fair at the process, surely how can you be trusted with the result?
Ruben, I'm in agreement with you, because if indeed you haven't met the threshold, it's incumbent upon the IEBC to tell you and show you evidence-based where you've gone wrong, what you missed, what you didn't do.
Yes.
And if they haven't been responding to this, yes, indeed, they are actually presenting us with something that is not pleasant. You are a candidate, they must explain to you satisfactorily why it is you haven't qualified. And not just you. Anybody else whom they haven't qualified must be given ample, adequate, and evidence-based reason why it is they haven't been qualified.
Absolutely, City. But there's something else. There's, for all those that have not qualified, and if you follow what the press has covered, they've done a splendid job covering all these happenings. When someone has not fully fulfilled, then they give him or her time to be able to fulfill, by a particular date. For me, they will not even look as yet. And so we don't even get to talk about, correcting this or the other, except for, what I was told on the Wednesday, the 25th, that it was in the wrong format, go correct it. So, but nobody has then looked at, have I then fulfilled the correct format? Do I have enough signatures? So, I think I will need to run, but thanks again for allowing me, audience. Thanks again, SpiceFM and the Standard Group. I think you have done a good job to give us space on this question.
Thank you for sharing with us your experience, Ruben, and wish you all the best as you pursue this particular matter. Ruben Kigame is an aspirant for this year's presidential election. He's been talking to us about the frustration that he's gone through with the IEBC. Earlier on, we had Walter Mung'are, who was cleared by the same IEBC to contest for the presidency under the Umoja Summit Party. So it's one gets it, one doesn't. And like you're saying, City, I mean, are they being given sufficient audience and explanation? Mwangi wa Iria, as we saw yesterday in the news, he was demanding the same. I want to be told. So what is it? What do you mean? And if Wafula Chebukati is addressing the media elsewhere, not talking to Mwangi wa Iria and saying, yes, we got 24 bundles. Out of those 24 bundles, there were 22 counties. Out of those 22 counties, only 5 were compliant. Have you told Mwangi wa Iria? You
need to tell them. There's no look. It doesn't guarantee that these individuals will go back and fix whatever needs to be fixed. It doesn't say that. But it is saying that let them know where they made the mistake. Because what you do is that you open up the door for speculation to say maybe actually there was no mistake. And maybe they were just trying to whittle down the list. Do you see what it does? You open the door for vermin and everything else to fly through. Tell them where they went wrong. It doesn't mean that you're allowing them a second chance. It means that you're being very clear and upholding the integrity of the process. Let them know where they fell short. It's very simple. If you've been through the process and you've verified everything and you found that there was a place where they fell short, you can as well tell them what you found. Because if you don't do that, you then plant a seed in the minds of very many people that perhaps maybe there was nothing wrong. That's what you do.
Or perhaps you're targeting certain people.
Or you're targeting certain people.
I mean, why is it such a teeth-pulling exercise to simply tell the candidate, excuse me, Mr. and Mrs. Candidate, Miss Candidate, Master Candidate, this is where you fell short.
That's it.
And here's the evidence. Is it really that complicated?
We've had the same conversations where we talk about leaving a vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. You leave a space, it's going to be filled up with very many things. Just tell them.
Look at what that server issue brought about. We are still discussing it today. Server, open the server. Now, you really want to introduce an issue of mistrust, distrust at this early stage when all we're asking for is the person brought their documents. You say they didn't qualify. Okay, what was it? Is that complicated, really?
You're not telling them that, okay, we're going to give you another chance. You're not telling them that, okay, we'll give you another week to go and count and bring more. You're not telling them that. You're just telling them where they went wrong. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
You know, this presidential candidacy issue, it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I hear you guys, but at the same time, I'm also just looking at Kenyans like whining. Okay, so you've been told this is this process. You present, you come here at this time, present, these are the documents. We shall go through the documents. If we find that you have not qualified, we shall tell you have not qualified. You have sat an exam. I have marked the exam. I have given you the results. That's it.
Not really, Eric.
No.
Not really.
In an exam situation,
really.
you come back to class and they tell you, you got question 1, 2, 3 wrong.
KCSE,
This is what you
not
did
class.
All right.
KCSE.
In KCSE.
Okay,
You want a remark?
Yes.
The
Yes.
IEBC has a dispute resolution mechanism. It starts from the 9th. Everybody knows this. There's dispute resolution. Even Chebukati has told them, okay, you know what? There's a Commission's Dispute Resolution Committee which will sit at the Milimani Law Courts from the 9th to the 19th of June.
Mm-hmm.
A window has been opened. A window has been created. You have an issue with the process. You can take it to the dispute resolution. You can have it addressed there. Now, it's not that I am going to sit here, have my team look at 48,000 signatures, verify them, and then you sit and then come and tell you see this one? This signature does not look like this one in the ID. Come on.
But that's what you did in order to remove this person in the
Precisely.
first place.
Yeah, we shall explain
it. To nullify this person's candidature.
We shall explain it at that committee, not here.
That's the same thing
Here,
that you did.
Time. Next, you are Wajakoya. Come, we deal with you. Next
Eric.
is who?
Eric.
Walter.
Eric.
Walter comes.
Eric.
Now, if I start dealing with Wajakoya's all issues,
Eric.
lakini bwana mkubwa, you know, your signature. No,
Eric,
man.
what is difficult about telling them where it is they've fallen short?
You can tell them that this bundle is a duplicate of this other one.
Yes, that's it. Now, if you want
Ruben
to complain
Kigame
further, come on the 9th.
Ruben has already told
but I've
us
told you.
on the 25th when he presented, he was told, you have not filled out this document in the right format. So he's already been explained to. This is the reason why we are not going to accept these ones. However, we are going to take these ones, stamp received here. For these ones, go and rectify. That has already been provided for.
See, then he went
And
and
he's already
rectified
been
and nobody
told.
has heard him.
He's already been told this is the issue.
Eric, he went and rectified it and then silence.
So he says.
Yes. So he says.
So he says.
Yes.
Okay.
So he says. The point is, if you are going to tell people they've fallen short of the required mark or the required standard, you are also required to tell them why and where they have fallen short. The details, as you say correctly, can be arbitrated on a specific date. That is perfectly understood, but they must be told. Because if there's arbitration,
agree.
what are they coming to talk about on the 9th if you haven't told them where they've fallen short?
I completely agree.
Yes.
Which is why I'm giving that example. 25th, present documents. Those documents are accepted, stamped. Okay? Because they have met the basics. All right? You have sat the exam, you have written your name, you have written your ID, your index number. I have taken the answer sheet. That is one. Next, I am going to mark. Now, after marking, I shall release the results. Well, after I release the results, now if you have a dispute, we shall deal with it at that point. This is where we are at. Walter presented. Walter's was marked. Walter got the pass mark. Walter was told, you have passed. Here. Somebody else has presented. Wajakoya was told, you have not. Mwangi Wairia, the IEBC chairperson, says, we looked at the documents, we found you are not complied. Now, it is not that because I have marked your science paper 1 and I found that you got 15 out of 70, I give you time to go and add the marks. No.
Eric,
I have marked the paper.
The problem is...
You failed.
The problem is
I can't give you an opportunity to go and re-answer the question.
Yes. The problem is never when you meet the threshold. No one is going to come and say, yes, you say I met the threshold, but I've looked at this thing and I don't think I actually met the threshold. So we need to...
That's what Mwangi Wairia is asking for. He's been told yours, only 5 complied. No. Show me which 5. Come on.
Yeah.
Yes, but because the rest did not.
Yes.
That's the point. That you have a majority which did not.
As you correctly put
There's
it,
an
Eric,
avenue for it. Dispute
Eric,
resolution.
as you correctly put it,
I can't start now opening other case, entire KCSE for all the 1 million to show them where they failed the particular sum.
If they don't complain, you don't have to. But if somebody complains, you have to.
And the process happens later.
No. The resolution of the problem happens later. What you've done is pointed to a problem without specifying what the problem actually is. And in the case of one Mr. Kigame, you told him the issue, he rectified it, then there was silence. And I'm saying, look, anything that brings about doubt, anything that causes doubt, what is so difficult about saying, my friend, thank you for bringing it, we don't have any other issues, or we have other issues, and the issue is this. You cannot have a situation or a forum where you're going to resolve a dispute when the people aren't even aware what it is that the disputes are.
So the person is coming to resolve a dispute, and you have not told them where they went wrong. So
you just told them there's a dispute, generally speaking.
Oh, there's a dispute. Okay,
yes.
so here I have
how?
come after the 9th.
And then?
Where did I go wrong? You've not even told me. So what am I coming to argue or agree with?
5 out of 24. Okay?
Yes.
You are supposed to give me 24.
Yes.
You have given me 5 out of 24. Is that not sufficient explanation?
No, because
now you want me to start giving you the other.
Eric, so the 19 are in question. Do you know how many things could have been wrong? Maybe it
Very
was
many.
not. Maybe it was not legible. Maybe there were duplicates. Maybe it read one county, should have read another county. Tell me now.
Yes.
So that now, if I'm coming on the 9th, I know that as we are coming to resolve this dispute, I know that the one you told me is legible. I say, okay, truly it was legible. I say, no, are you blind? Why could you not read this one? Then you tell me this was a duplicate. I say, okay, I agree. It was a duplicate from Narok County. Oh, but you've not told me anything. You've just told me 19 did not make it. Okay, now.
I bet you, these campaigns have received answers.
You think so?
Yes.
Okay.
I bet you these campaigns have received answers. On why? Okay, so if Chebukati can come out and say 24 bundles received, out of the 24 bundles, we find 22 counties. Out of the 22 counties, 5 have complied. If he has the answer and he can come out and publicly say it, he's also told them.
Why doesn't he tell us that?
Why doesn't he tell them that? So that this
yes, why doesn't he say, we've actually explained
this
thing.
Explained to these people and they're still disturbing us.
He has told them. In fact,
read it.
He has told them. Where is it?
On page 3.
We're going to the top of the hour. He
Yeah,
has told them. The process was transparent. You can have the documents for verification.
You can have the documents, the same ones that
the documents are available the same way. And everything that we've marked, you can give it to you. Here,
everything that Ruben has told us,
it's available.
It sounds like that was a journey where verification was available.
Why are you mixing people? Mwangi wa Iria is a different candidate.
No, the process
I'm
is
talking
the same.
about. I'm talking about Mwangi wa Iria's
process
case.
is the same.
You're bringing somebody
process
else.
is the same.
Shebi, it's the same process they're using. Same IEBC. It's not a different IEBC for Mwangi and a different IEBC for Kigame. Is it? Same IEBC.
Stocky upper.
Same IEBC. You're also there.
Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Let's keep observing what's happening at the Bomas of Kenya as candidates are getting cleared. And also remember, candidates are getting cleared across the country for the other seats as well. Member of Parliament, member of the National Assembly, the Senate, governor and all. This is also happening across the country. Kenya's biggest conversation. We've been live on KTN Home. We are now live on SpiceFM and YouTube and Facebook. It's now 9 o'clock.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Security officers have recovered 4 illegal guns and 138 rounds of ammunition at Manyata Saku constituency in the ongoing security operation in Marsabit County. The recovery brings to 140 firearms and over 1,000 bullets of illicit weapons retrieved from wrong hands since the Operation Rejesha Amani in Marsabit started on the 2nd of May. In an intense operation led by the commander-in-charge Bernard Mbata, a suspect who had just been arrested led the security team to a site where the weapons had been hidden. Mbata said the middle-aged suspect disclosed that he had dug a small trench and concealed the weapons underground. And Muga West MP Charles Nguna has cautioned fellow aspirants to ensure they conduct peaceful campaigns as the country prepares for the general elections come August 2022. Speaking in Migwani Market moments after presenting his nomination papers for IEBC for clearance for the campaigns, Nguna said that there are several aspirants who have been pulling down posters and billboards of other opponents. Nguna said he will take stern action against those found pulling down other candidates' campaign materials, stating that it is against the law. John Mawasi, Mwingi West returning officer, said he had cleared 12 candidates for the Mwingi West MP position, with the majority vying independently. He added that all aspirants are expected to conduct peaceful campaigns as agreed on during their meeting with the aspirants a week ago. Kazungu Charu, Mwingi West Sub-County Police Commander, said the security team is well prepared for the general elections to ensure peace is maintained in every part of the sub-county. And Health Principal Secretary Susan Muchache will lead celebrations to commemorate World No Tobacco Day at the University of Nairobi Great Court. The yearly celebrations informs the public on the dangers of using tobacco, the business practices of tobacco companies. Every year, more than 8,100 Kenyans die of tobacco-related diseases, while more than 220,000 children and more than 2,737,000 adults continue to use tobacco each day. The member states of the World Health Organization created World No Tobacco Day in 1987 to draw global attention to the tobacco epidemic and the preventable death and diseases it causes. The Central Bank of Kenya has raised its benchmark rate by 50 basis points, the first hike in 7 years. The bank's monetary committee says the hike is meant to match inflation expectations due to a surge in commodity prices. A statement by MPC has said the decision was taken because of elevated risks to the inflation outlook due to increased global commodity prices and supply chain disruptions. This is the first interest rate hike by the bank since 2015. Inflation currently stands at 6.5%, well within the MPC's targets band of between 2.5% to 7.5%. The signing of the framework of cooperation between Kenya Flower Council and the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands is set to strengthen the efforts in adoption of sea freight for perishables in Kenya. The government of the Netherlands and Kenya Flower Council have signed a framework of cooperation on adoption of sea freight for perishables in Kenya. The ambassador of the Netherlands, Martin Brouwer, and the chairman of the Kenya Flower Council Board, Richard Fernandez, signed the framework during the opening of the International Floriculture Trade Exhibition at the Oshual Center in Nairobi. And European Union leaders agreed to ban more than two-thirds of Russian oil imports, tightening economic screws on the country even as Moscow's forces made gains in the eastern Donbas region of war-ravaged Ukraine. The compromise deal, meant to punish Russia for its invasion 3 months ago, cuts a huge source of financing for its war machines, according to European Council Chief Michael Charles. Leaders of the 27-nation bloc had met to negotiate the long-sought deal in Brussels amid concerns raised by Hungary and other neighboring countries reliant on Russian fuel. A newly appointed French Foreign Minister, Catherine Colonna, now says that it is necessary to maintain dialogue with Moscow in order to convey Paris' position and jointly work on certain issues. At the same time, she noted that the conditions for setting up a dialogue between the Russian and Ukrainian authorities have not yet been formed. Paris is concerned about the situation unfolding in Ukraine and intends to intensify its diplomatic efforts, the minister has said. And Kenya Breweries Limited revealed their involvement in the 2022 edition of Rhino Charge, an off-road 4x4 challenge event scheduled on the 3rd of June in Baringa County. Kenya Breweries Limited Senior Brand Manager Abel Retem lauded the role played by Rhino Act Charity, the organizers of the charge, in sensitization of environmental conservation through the competition. Last year's Rhino Charge edition raised a total of 1,050,000 shillings expected to be invested in environmental conservation in Baringa County. This is News Web Dennis Oseto. Good morning.
So as if the accidents were not enough, what we have now is campaigns through the city, and then what does that do? It causes quite a lot of traffic. So folks are already complaining about Jogo Road, which started really packed at 6 a.m., even before that. And so now what we have is campaigns that are causing traffic for, unfortunately, a lot of people who are trying to just get to work and back. My goodness. Looks like that's going to be the case of things as we go through the next few months. So it's good for us to watch out for that. The drama that started on the Thika Superhighway really early this morning is still doing the rounds. Quite a lot of it coming off towards that Pangani underpass right now. But for the most part, it looks like it has leveled off here and there. Kiambu Road still continues with traffic. Jogo Road is what we're looking at right now. And in terms of what has moved, quite a lot of it going towards the City Stadium roundabout and then out towards Landis. Not a fun place to be in right now. Let's keep an eye on things and take a look at about half hour when traffic should have staved off. And then let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up,
it's
not
still
down.
the final day of
This
the month.
Is the
it's 9:07 a.m. It's Tuesday. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the final hour for today. And CT has the day's proverb before we introduce our next guest in the studio.
Yes, this is our final proverb from Tanzania.
Yeah.
One who bathes willingly with cold water does not feel cold.
One who bathes willingly with cold water does not feel cold. Choices of consequences. Learn to live with the consequences.
Learn to live with the choices you've made, or should we say the consequences of the choices you've made?
Okay. Nisisikie. Nisisikie. Yes, as mother tells you. Okay. Unataka wembe? Unataka wembe? Shika. Nani?
Nikisikia. Ngwe.
Utakipata. Duncan Ochoa is from an organization called End Fund. He's a program manager for East Africa. He joins us in the studio because we want to talk about neglected tropical diseases, understanding them, and understanding whether they are really a nightmare for poor people. Duncan, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you for having me.
That is the hot seat. Now, we will make it warm enough for you so that you can tell us about these neglected tropical diseases, what they are and what they do. But make yourself comfortable. Uko sawa, sindio?
Sawa kabisa.
It is the end of the month.
Yeah.
We are all happy for one reason or the other. Now we are coming to June soon, and the expressway will hopefully be launched. What is it, City? See, it's true.
The earliest the expressway will be launched is this month. Earliest.
It will not be launched this month. Have you seen them starting to do anything on the lower road?
That's why I had said 3 months ago that the earliest we will see the launch of this expressway launch is June. Yes.
Well, anyway, our guest, Duncan Ochoa, is here to talk to us about the neglected tropical diseases. But let's start with this organization, End Fund.
Yeah.
Why do you want to end the fund? Which fund?
Why end?
Why end it?
Yeah, End Fund is, you can say, the only philanthropic organization that gets funding from different philanthropies and is exclusively working on neglected tropical diseases. End Fund is now 10 years old. It started in 2012 after the London Declaration of the Neglected Tropical Diseases, where the countries signed the London Agreement saying that they're going to identify diseases that are considered as neglected tropical diseases because it's a group of diseases, and then they'll be going to be eliminated and others are going to be controlled. So EndFund has been working in different countries, started from Rwanda, and then now it has expanded to over 35 countries. Most of the countries is in Africa, and we deal with the neglected tropical diseases. Specifically, the first were the first diseases that we say are amenable to to treatment. So these are the group of diseases where they either can be prevented, they can be treated, but they have been neglected so much, simply because one reason they affect mainly the poor and the marginalized, mostly in Africa. And then the second thing is that the diseases themselves, even though some of them have been there for quite some time, there has been no research, for example, in new diagnostics, new ways of doing the treatment. So the drugs, some of the drugs are the ones that were developed in the 1940s, 1930s. But nowadays, because after the London Declaration and after these diseases were grouped together, there are about 20 diseases, you find that there's a lot of effort being done to control and eliminate them simply because of the stigma and the debilitation that they cause, even though some of them are fatal. Yeah.
So are we saying these diseases at some point then did not receive attention because those who had the wherewithal to pay for healthcare then were not getting infected?
That's one reason why they're neglected.
Okay.
Yes, because the people that they affect, mostly they affect the very poor people. So the diseases have been there. For example, if you have something like the worms, the normal worms, the normal worms have been there for a very long time.
Mignot.
The Mignot, yes, the Mignot. Then you have bilharzia. You know, bilharzia has, we know very well, bilharzia has been there. The treatment is available, but the people that is affecting, is very poor. They cannot afford. Yes, we have others which are fatal. For example, one which is known as Kalasha or leishmaniasis. That one is fatal, 95% fatal if not treated. But then it is one of the diseases that nothing has been done for quite some time. Yeah.
Is it okay? So it sounds to me like these are diseases that are not commercially viable.
Partially, yes. And like now, most of these diseases now, the treatment that we are being provided is through donations from the pharmaceutical companies, simply because of all these discussion about neglected tropical diseases, all these awareness that is being done, not quite enough. We are still a long way to go. And some of the diseases can be, yes, they are not commercially viable, so you cannot pay for it.
You'll not make money out of it, so you don't. Yes. There's no point of investing in research, investing in much more development of this, because you're not going to get your returns. Is it also possible that it's because it's not affecting a wide population? Many, so it's about numbers. If this is a disease that's only affecting, well, how many cases are you going to have in a year? Maybe 20, 30 in a year in a country. I mean, what's the point?
Not really, because around 1.7 billion people in the world are affected by the neglected tropical diseases. In Kenya, we allow around 25 million people are affected with one or any or the other, because it's a group of diseases.
Per year?
The number of people are affected.
Time.
So you have people who are living in those areas that are at risk of getting infected. And you know, the neglected tropical diseases are a group of approximately 20 diseases, preventable and treatable. They affect different areas because of the geographical distribution is in different areas. For example, if you go to like the worms, that one is widely distributed. Apart from maybe the arid areas where you don't get most of the worms, but in almost every other. But the arid areas, they also have their share of other neglected tropical diseases. Like I talked about Kalasha, I talked about trachoma that affects the eyes. That one also is in the arid areas. So if you look at Kenya, almost half of the population live in a place where they get infected. We can be infected by one or more neglected tropical diseases.
So do I hear you to be saying that these diseases are prevalent in places where people are economically disadvantaged, meaning they are poor?
Yes.
So the real disease here is poverty.
Yeah, poverty. This disease itself is it exacerbates for poverty. So if you are poor, you will not afford the treatment. So if you don't afford the treatment, it means that you'll get infected, and now you, because of the debilitation that they cause, some of you cannot work. For example, if you take as example of elephantiasis at the coast, yeah. So if you have elephantiasis, you are not going to work your normal duties. So you remain poor because you are not active economically. Mm-hmm. If you take something like trachoma, it is one of the leading causes of preventable blindness. So you can imagine if you get blind, it means that almost the entire family cannot work because your children might be guiding you, or it's affecting the children. If you get something like Kalasha, obviously that one is fatal if it is not treated. So there are many reasons why it exacerbates poverty. It's just a cycle. Yeah, and the common one, the worms or the minyo that we know about. Minyo in itself, it affects mostly the children, school-age children. So with these school-age children, what happens to them? They cannot concentrate in class. There is this stunted growth. There is malnutrition. All these things now increase the issue of if you cannot go to school, it means that you are not able, you will not be employable in future. So that poverty still continues. So it has a lot of other impacts beyond the disease itself.
Okay, so these have been forgotten over time. Let's say the past 2-3 decades have been forgotten in terms of interventions towards treatment and things like this. So what sparked, I know you alluded to it, but then what sparked this remembrance? Because even as you describe them, they're not fun diseases to have. Elephantiasis, trachoma, leading cause of blindness. We're looking at things that essentially
Kalasha.
Uproot your existence. So it's not obviously not something for the individual or their family or the community that can be forgotten. But then what it also does to a significant part of the population also cannot be forgotten. So then what catalyzed the remembrance of these diseases now in the last 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, the last 10 years or so. Yeah, in the last 10 years or so. One is that the grouping of these diseases together, when they identified that these are diseases that are being neglected, if you look at them individually, people don't think about them. So when they are grouped together as neglected tropical diseases, and then we see that now this is the group, we have some of them caused by parasite, this is what can be done about it. So there has been some form of awareness about it. Yeah. And then after that, it's part of it is some of the diseases, because of the fatal nature, isn't it? It becomes a factor that people start considering because people are dying because of these diseases. And then if you look at the long-term effect of some of them, you find children have been affected, so they don't go to school, people don't do their work. So obviously the country has to think about this because economically there is a problem. Yeah.
But in that meeting that took place in the UK, in 2012, for example, that established the End Fund. What is it that brought people together? Is it a collective guilt? Is it a campaign by the people in the poor countries? Is it governments that pushed this conversation? What necessitated this meeting?
It was almost all of them, but there was the part of the key thing was once these have been identified, then the World Health Organization, people going to Africa, into some of these poor countries, realize that some of these diseases, for example, if a medical doctor, you go, you find a disease, and then the only drug available is self can kill. The drugs which are there were developed in 1940s, 1950s, and the drug itself can kill. So these issues started coming up now, saying that now we need to do something about these diseases. It's affecting most of us. So and then after that, there is, because of the collaboration with other partners, then the pharmaceutical companies, some of them opted to donate part of the drugs. Yeah, so
part of that old drug that could kill.
Sometimes that is the only available drug that is available. So some of these diseases, that is the only drug that is available. For example,
none has been developed.
None is being. It is now. So that is the part. That's another part of the neglect in itself.
Okay.
Yes. So because of that, now there's some drugs which are relatively new, like the ones for worms, which are safe. They are good. They can be used, and that's why they're being used for mass administration. As long as there's an area, not a person, there's an area that is endemic, people have the disease, then you can give treatment to everybody who is there, so that if the people who have the disease can get cured, the people who don't have, this drug does not have any effect, and that is one way of controlling it. Yeah, so there are different methods that were being used now based on the disease. What do we do about it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we come to the significant interventions then that would come after this realization, so status quo meant that anybody who had this disease and perchance was able to go to a medical facility and get treated. Are we saying then that because they're forgotten diseases, then that the care that one would receive then would not have been as robust or vibrant as it would be otherwise?
Yeah, up to now, it's still the same for most of these diseases.
So if I had, take your pick,
Elephantiasis,
and I went to hospital today, chances are, maybe some 10 years ago, 5 years ago, chances are that I would not receive the care that I needed because there's not adequate medication or expertise in that area.
Yes, that's how it was.
Wow.
That's how it was. But that's something, even today, there are diseases, like I can give you, like Kalasha, where the drugs, it is the drugs that have been used. You don't have any oral medication, apart from recently that there is one which is being tested. So all the drugs that are being used are parenteral injections, and they are injection for a minimum of 17 days.
Good Lord.
Yeah, sometimes
every day an
injection. Every day for 17 days. Wow. So that is the first line treatment that you have. You don't have any other. So if you get it, that is the option that you have. But this is So and then there are some diseases where they still don't have treatment itself is not. Is not 100%. Okay, nothing 100%, but the efficacy of the drugs that are there is also very low. Yeah, and the diagnosis itself. Yeah.
So then, what changes, and what does that mean then for 2012 till 2022, where we are now? What changes?
So, one of the things that has happened is, for example, like now the End Fund came in. That is one of the organizations, plus many others that have been. They are now trying to ensure that people are aware. There's a lot of advocacy. The research institutions are involved, and they're told that these are the things that we need to do. So for us to prevent, to control, and also, if possible, to eliminate some of these diseases.
Right.
Yeah. So there's now. Initially, it was the control, but now, because of the efforts that have been made and the strides that have made in some of the diseases, countries are now thinking about elimination of some of these diseases because they can be eliminated.
And does that mean starting from scratch? Because, there's been this whole time, there's been a lapse where nothing has really been done. Are we looking at starting from the beginning? Or are you saying that the initial knowledge that you had of the makeup of the disease and etc. then will be able to fuel current interventions?
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why we are here for this summit. Is to look at the past. Where are we? What have we been doing all these years? What has worked? What has not worked? And then what is the present? And then after that, we know that these diseases, some of them, we want to eliminate them. Yeah, and then some of them can only be controlled so that they don't become a public health issue. Yeah, so few people will get affected. So that is what is happening. So the previous knowledge is being used, but also new things, new technology is new innovations, not really technology. New innovations are being used now to ensure that at least some of these diseases we know them. Because understanding the disease itself, isn't it? We know it very well. We can know that these are the interventions that will work, and then we put the interventions in place. Yeah.
I'm interested in this process of elimination of disease because it kind of deals with the problem once and for all, right? And I know that in some societies there were diseases that have been eliminated. In some societies, leprosy, things like this. What happens, medically speaking, when a disease then has been eliminated, we don't see it anymore?
Yeah. Okay, elimination is in two parts. There's elimination as a public health problem, where the few people will still get infected, but then the health system is able to control, identify them and treat them. But then there is what is called the eradication of a disease. For example, like smallpox, which was eradicated.
Yes.
So in that, you make sure that there is no single case anywhere in the world. Now, with most of the diseases that we're talking about, neglected tropical diseases, we're talking about elimination as a public health problem. And this is where we need regional support, collaboration, because you cannot eliminate a disease from Kenya and it is still in Uganda.
Sure.
Yes, you can't, so because of the cross-border issues. So if you eliminate it as a public health problem, according to the WHO standards, you have some thresholds. For example, if only 1% of the population is infected, then the system that is there can manage to identify these people and treat them. So it is no longer a public health issue. Yeah. So that is the elimination that we are aiming at this time. And then there is also what is called the breaking the transmission, where you make sure that the people who are getting, there are very few people who are infected, such that they cannot transmit it to a wider population. Yeah. So that when you break the transmission. Right. So once you break the transmission, you are almost there through elimination. Yeah. So there's different stages. Some of these diseases, because there is not only medicine. Yeah, like the neglected tropical diseases, there are others which are amendable. For example, clean water, hygiene, sanitation, Others are, for example, vectors that you have to deal with, the vector control. So all this, you make sure that when you're doing the elimination, you put all these other interventions in place. Yeah, because, for example, you do the treatment. Treatment is only the one form of control. But then after the treatment, then you have to make sure that once you've reached a threshold that is no longer of a public health importance, it does not recur, because it can happen. Yeah. We've seen with trachoma in some of the counties, for example, at Narok at one point, the number of trachoma cases was very low. And then after that, then other measures were not put into place, for example, like enough water for face washing and such things. Then after some time, you go back, you find that the cases have increased. And that is not what you want. Once it has been eliminated, it does not recur. Yeah.
When you talk about then those statistics, you gave some very big figure here. About 25 million Kenyans are exposed to this one or more of these neglected tropical diseases.
Yeah.
But in terms of the actual figures or the actual numbers, how many people get infected, let's say, in a year with peak trachoma or peak Kalasha?
Yeah.
Do we have that kind of data?
Yes, we have that kind of data. For example, for like Kalasha, you get more than 2,000 people get infected. Yeah, but just to give an example, neglected tropical diseases is broadly divided into two.
Okay.
One is the ones which can be managed by mass treatment, what we call preventive treatment, chemotherapy. And then you have others which are called case management, where the investment should be on diagnosing the individual who is affected. So diseases which are amenable to preventive chemotherapy, mass treatment, this is like the worms, the bilharzia, trachoma. If you get to a place where the prevalence, if you do a study, the prevalence, for example, if a prevalence is more than 5% for trachoma. So if you take the population of that area, and then 5% of that population is infected, so you can get the actual numbers that you need. And they're in millions, for example. Yeah, they're millions based on if you go to per county, they're in millions. Yeah, so that is how you estimate, because but for Kalasha or for some of these which are called case management diseases, you want to identify the person and you treat that person only. Yeah, but for the others, if you get a certain threshold, more than 5% for some
go
diseases,
to the community,
the entire community. More than 10%, for example, for lymphatic filariasis, the elephantiasis, all of them. The entire community is supposed to be treated.
Eric, are we going to a break?
Let's take that break. Okay. And then you'll ask the question. It's 9:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Duncan Ochol is the Enfund Program Manager for East Africa. He is here educating us and highlighting the issue of the neglected tropical diseases. These ones are prevalent in those poor communities, countries, poor communities. So, is it a poor man's disease? And then how do we bring it to the attention of all governments, of the world and of all pharmaceutical companies. So there's better research, there's improvement of the medication and treatment methods that ought to be given to this. Kenya's biggest conversation takes this quick break, reminding you about Kenya Revenue Authority and dispute resolution mechanism. City, should you explain it? Tell Duncan. So Duncan, for example, has received an email from KRA. Now, it's not the case.
It's role playing, my brother. We don't know anything about your finances. We don't know anything about those houses that you own. We know nothing about those. Okay. Even the farm, we know nothing.
We don't know anything. Yes. We're just saying, for example, that Duncan receives an email from KRA, and KRA are telling him, Duncan, we have seen this is your source of income, but you've not been declaring some of these sources of income, and therefore you've not been filing your returns adequately. You've also not been paying what is due to Caesar. And therefore, Duncan, we are coming to with a claim of 10 million shillings. Lipa, Mohammed Kenya.
That is just an assessment. And you're asking, are these people mad? What on earth? Now, when the what on earth moment comes, and you feel, I have been wronged here, they've got this thing wrong. They are referring to some other Duncan or Chole, not myself. There's a mechanism that you can follow. There are processes you can go to within KRA where they will advise you and say, look, if this is the issue you have with us, don't stress. We have mechanisms by which such a matter can be resolved. Because clearly, for you to say this is not the truth, you have documentation, you have evidence to prove your case. And KRA also say, but we also have ours. So you go through this mechanism to people who understand how to resolve disputes of this nature. And you both sit down, present your cases, and you're listened to, and an amicable solution is arrived at, hopefully. Where you've presented your case, KRA have presented theirs, and the balance has been arrived at.
Everybody leaves happy.
The idea is that you should both leave, even if you're not happy, but you're not as cantankerous as you were when you came in. And you feel, at least I have been heard, and perhaps there's something that I hadn't considered. And KRA also feel, yeah, perhaps we didn't consider everything. Yes.
Win-win, right?
But maximum 90 days before the matter is actually resolved. Maximum of 90 days.
Imagine that. Let's take this break. We'll be back shortly. 27 to 10.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country, and I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma number them Semakweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and should be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room. Kenya's biggest conversation.
In Nairobi at 18, highs of 24 and lows of 15. It's partly sunny at 17 in Nakuru, good highs of 24 and lows of 14. It's raining in Nyeri at 18, highs of 23 and lows of 15. And at 17, Eldoret is sunny now at 25. That'll be today's high, down to lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa, still continues, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 26 in a wet Malindi as well. It's partly sunny at 22 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18, while the sun is also out in Kakamega. It'll go to highs of 26 and lows of 15. The rain continues in Kampala, highs of 27 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam will be sunny for most parts of today at 26 currently, highs of 30 and lows of 23. 7 degrees is what it is in Johannesburg. Sunny conditions, highs of 13 and lows of 2. While it continues to rain in Lagos at 26, we'll see highs of 31 and lows of 25. Kinshasa is sunny at 23, highs of 33. 29 degrees and sunny out in Beijing. Early evening sees highs of 31 and lows of 14. And at 13 degrees, it's cloudy in Paris. Highs of 20 and lows of 9. 10 degrees and sunny in London. Highs of 16 and lows of 8. And round things off in the Big Apple, where it's 24 degrees coming into Tuesday. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 18. All right, let's see. Traffic hour coming to an end in terms of minutes, and most parts of the city seems to have reduced significantly. Coming off Thika Superhighway, then onto Muranga Road, just around that Globe Cinema overpass is where you see the most of the action. It's been ebbing and flowing on Thika Road today, and it looks like we'll still see some of it for some time. Folks still complaining about what madness is going on Jogo Road because of campaigns. Well, I'm sorry, folks, we're going to have to sit tight, and hopefully we can land this thing without too much drama. Keep an eye on things for us through the morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya's national carrier, Kenya Airways, has announced that it will implement an exclusively cashless system effective June 1st, 2022 at the Moi International Airport, Mombasa, and the Kisumu International Airport. The implementation of a cashless system helps to support the customer shift and preference to cashless transaction and will ease cash collection and reconciliation issues at the airports, ensuring efficient services to customers. Payments will now only be accepted through debit or credit cards and other online payment platforms. Listed non-bank financial services firm Sanlam Kenya narrowed its loss to 542 million shillings in 2021 compared to loss of 626 million shillings in 2020, majorly on account of increased premium incomes. The firm has been undertaking revenue growth strategies for both its life and general insurance subsidiaries and has attributed its performance to a challenging market. Top line, the group reported a gross premium income of 12 billion shillings, representing a 38% improvement over the previous year's 8.7 billion shillings. Innovative technology solutions have the potential to address the financial needs of people living with disabilities across the Middle East and Africa, according to the latest white paper from MasterCard. The study, Bridging the Disability Gap, states that digital inclusion is the pathway to financial inclusion for persons with disabilities. As governments adopt and prioritize policies to improve accessibility of services, this paves the way for public and private sector financial institutions, mobile network operators, fintech providers, and other organizations to develop and apply solutions. And the East African Breweries PLC has commissioned the construction of a 1 billion shillings microbrewery that will serve as an innovation center for alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. The facility next to the Tusker Brewery in Ruaraka will consist of a microbrewery, test room, tap room, and a flagship store. The construction was commissioned by Group Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director Jen Karuku and is expected to be open to the public by December in time to celebrate a 100-year birthday of the business' first beer, Tusker. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Morning.
It's 21 minutes to 10. This is
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
On Spice FM on YouTube and Facebook. Eric Latiff, Okoh City, Muga, and our guest this morning is Duncan Ochol, the program manager for East Africa at End Fund. We're talking about neglected tropical diseases.
The thing that seems to apparent to me, or which strikes me as being a commonality, is that if the poverty in the places where we find a prevalence of these neglected diseases, if the poverty levels are not reduced, or there isn't a scheme or a plan to eliminate them or reduce them, then these neglected diseases will continue being neglected. Now my question. Do you partner with other agencies and bodies and governments to ensure that the thing that can actually prevent the diseases from actually occurring, because your intervention is clearly curative now, or have I got it wrong and there's a preventative aspect to your processes?
Yeah, there's preventive aspect of it. For example, if you talk about some of these diseases that are spread by mosquitoes, the elephantiasis at the coast. If you have mosquito nets, that is to prevent infection. However, as you've said, when you talk about these diseases, they are diseases of the poverty. So eradicating or reducing poverty is one way of ensuring that we not only eliminate these diseases, but also control and sustain the level at which they are now no longer a public health problem. And that is why there's partnership, and that is with different partners. Like we've realized that there are some of these diseases that are amenable to water and sanitation. So we work with the water department to ensure that they provide the water services. So I give an example of trachoma. Trachoma, if you have in a place where it's very dry, there's no water, then the bacteria itself is just carried by flies, and then that affects the people into the people get blind because of that. So if you provide water in those areas, definitely you'll control trachoma because people can wash their faces. That is how it is infected. The same thing with the worms. If you have proper sanitation, there will be no contamination of the soil. There will be no contamination of the water sources, and now you'll get it's a relief. It's a prevention method. So what we do is that we know very well that, and that's why you talk about the tools that are there for elimination or for control of these diseases. So you partner with other agencies. So we work with the water and sanitation. You work with the people for the nutrition because of the malnourishment. Yeah, you work with these it's called income generating activities, so that once people at least get treated, but they can also improve their livelihoods. So these are some of the things that are being put in place to ensure that these diseases are controlled, and the eventual part is to eliminate as much as possible. That is what we are aiming at. Controlling so that not many people are affected, but the goal is to eliminate most of these diseases.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Before you get to obviously, if that's the goal, so in the meantime, then there must be treatment for those who are infected,
yes,
right? Because now we're saying we're getting to the place where we're remembering these communities once again and saying let's do something about it. Massive interventions were done with HIV, where governments then were able to offer medication free of charge. To date, government, pays for that. Is that what we are looking at now? Because some of the factors in terms of demography, we're looking at, low to almost zero income communities then are getting infected with these diseases. So the likelihood of them being able to afford medication that might be developed over the next 5 or 10 years is very low. So what kind of interventions are we looking at to be able to manage in terms of medication and treatment before we get to this elimination stage?
Yeah, treatment is one form of control. Yeah, because these diseases are communicable, most of them. Yeah, so if somebody has it, then it can go to the next person based on if it's by vector or it is through the soil, like things. So treatment is one of the things, and we've partnered with pharmaceutical companies that are providing free treatment. I said we have a very effective thing for the worms. Yeah, the same thing for bilharzia, schistosomiasis. Yeah, so those ones we have treatment which are provided to the community. Then the same thing through WHO, there's a procurement of the drugs for diseases like, for example, Kalasha that I talked about. Yeah, Kalasha being a case management, then the number of cases that are, for example, in Kenya is very low for any pharmaceutical company to manufacture. Yep. So through WHO or through other partners, now you look at it from, now I look at it from East Africa. And how many cases do you expect in East Africa? So it is something which is viable for a pharmaceutical company to say, I can produce this much because it's going to be used in those areas.
Okay, so give us that practical example.
Yeah.
How many cases of Kalasha do you expect in the region, East Africa, in a year or in 2 years?
In a year, around 15,000 in the region, cases in the region. The highest number.
And the mortality rate of Kalasha is what?
95% if not treated.
So you're talking about the possibility of 15,000 people dying. Well,
no,
close to.
If you have 15,000, close to.
If they are not treated.
If they are not treated, 95% if not treated.
That's a high number.
Very high. That's very high. So in the region, we are talking about max 15,000 cases. So if they are not treated, roughly 14,000 to 14,000 will die.
Okay. Yes. But looking at it from a pharmaceutical company's point of view,
Yeah.
15,000 people.
Yeah, that's very low because if they compare, for example, the cost of production, and then, for example, if Kenya wants to buy Kalasha drugs and they expect 4,000 cases maximum in a year, there's nobody who is going to manufacture that. So that is why we work through WHO and other agencies so that there is a pool procurement, and then now it is distributed to the countries as needed. Yeah, and the cost of the drugs itself is very expensive. So that's where we have like philanthropies who support like the End Fund, and we have other donors, international development partners who support that to ensure that they can procure the drugs, and the governments. Yes.
Are there people that you're not able to cover? Like, is there a possibility of somebody contracting any of these neglected diseases, Kalasha or elephantiasis or bilharzia or trachoma, and it's very, very expensive to treat, and End Fund is not aware, or End Fund is not able to reach them?
Yes, they are.
So what happens to them?
We have group. There are people. Okay, now our call is to leave no one behind. Yeah. So what it means is that you want to ensure that it might not be individual, but even communities. There is no community that is left out. But you have some, for example, like IDPs. You can have places where you have these nomadic groups. So at this point, they're in this area. Another point, they've moved to a different area. Some of these groups are not reached. Yeah. And also, there was a group that the drugs that were available could not be used for them. So is that group obviously is systemically left behind. Yeah, because like bilharzia. Before, the only people who can be treated are more than 5 years. The drug that is available, 5 years and above. So it means that anybody, whether you are sick or not, below 5 years, then you don't have a drug for treatment. So that's a group that has been left out already. But that's why, because of all this advocacy nowadays, you have there's the group that is called the pediatric praziquantel group that is developing drugs that can be used for these children under 5 years. Yeah, so there are, obviously, we have not reached everybody. Yeah, and there are so many partners in addition to the End Fund.
Which is a question that City had started asking about partnerships and collaborations.
Yeah. There are other partners. We have governments that are supporting. Yeah, then you have philanthropies, like the fund that End Fund gets, mostly it's from the philanthropy. And then just recently we had a very big UK government grant for East Africa. Yeah, and then you have USAID, all these partners normally provide funding. But what we are doing now is to work with the governments and like in Kenya, the county governments, based on the endemic diseases that is in their areas, so that they can have that in their budgets. So at least we know the government contribution in terms of healthcare, health workers, but then we need more in terms of actual funding for the implementation of these activities. Yeah.
What happens with human resource, and I say medical human resource, who over time have not practiced in this field? Because, these patients are not coming to them with these diseases. And so now there's a reintroduction of this. So is there then adequate training for them, an update of what has happened with, pharmacology, the makeup of the disease? Do they then, within this program, then, come to grips with what is the current situation?
Yes, what is happening is that part of the implementation activities is to continuous training. Yeah, and then it is at different levels. For example, if you are going at the community level where they're only going to be distribution of the drugs, you have to give them the training on distribution of the drugs. But because these drugs, medicines, all of them have some side effects. So you have to train them also on the side effects. What are the adverse events? What do you need to do to in case you get these cases? Who are the groups that you cannot give? For example, a person who is extremely sick, you cannot give them some of these drugs. So they have to be managed first. Yeah, and then in medical schools, this is some of these diseases are there. But in terms of the control program, then in addition to the medical school, that the medical doctors, clinical officers have learned, then they need to be trained on the control programs and the interventions that are required. Yeah, so it's not anybody from a medical school will go there and understand how to control these diseases. So all this is part of the interventions that are normally done as part of the implementation. And that's why we are saying the government is doing what they can in terms of training medical doctors, making sure they're in the facilities. But then if you want to reorient these people, to retrain them once again, then that part also needs some support.
When you talk about retraining or training medical personnel, the emphasis here seems to be clinicians, people who have a clinical background. Now, if we are saying that most of these diseases are found in communities, the preventative aspect with reference now specifically to community health workers, if I may use that term, is there a push in this direction? Do you focus on these things? Do you push governments and partners to focus on this?
Yes. In fact, AMREF has a very big, is one of our partners, and they have a very big component of community health. And this is one of the areas. I talked of two types of NTDs. One is the one which are amenable to community interventions. And this group, we almost totally work with the communities. So what happens is that you train the community health workers on prevention is one of them, and even on distribution of the drugs and to identify the side effects. Also, to the common signs and symptoms, you also train them, the community health workers or the volunteers. So AMREF is a very big partner in this, and they are doing a lot of community interventions through partly through support from End Fund, but partly through their own support funding. So we concentrate on that. We realize that to control these diseases and to eliminate them, treatment is just a small portion of it. So, and then it is from the community. And we are even going lower than the community now to the family level, where at least one person needs to be trained. I give an example of lymphatic, the elephantiasis. Yeah, you know, once a person has got elephantiasis with the swollen limbs, the only thing that you can do is to manage. This will not be managed in the facility. It should be managed at home. Yes. So what you do with these cases is that you train them on how to manage, how to elevate their feet, how to wash, and all this. So they're trained at the community level. That's a little bit late when we are training them, but that is the part of the rehabilitation that is required. So the community has been trained on that. But the most important thing is to train them on prevention. Yeah, that is why in public health, you have to look at all this, but prevention being the key. Yeah, so when we prevent the disease, some of these which are the cycle itself, if I block the treatment, if I block at this point, if it is at the level of a mosquito not biting you, you've blocked that, then these people are not going to be sick. So that is one area. If it is, for example, bilharzia, if you provide water, because these people will get infected with bilharzia when you go there to fetch water for your other activities. So if you are fetching water from a river, which is fresh, then you get infected there. So if you can provide water, which maybe piped water, so people they don't get into the river where the snails are, then you prevent it, then you will not get bilharzia. So there's all these prevention measures that are being taken and told to the community. But at the individual level, there's what you can do. But there's also something that's beyond that. If it's going to be at the county level to provide, and at the community and at higher level. So prevention is the key thing that we are doing. Like I said, treatment is one form of control.
I guess there's a lot of awareness that's then required. Awareness at community level. So that people know, all right, so when you see somebody with elephantiasis, for example, this is what you do. Also to destigmatize the diseases. Because like you said at the very beginning, one of the things that comes with these diseases is stigmatization and stigma. How do you address the stigma in a community? If you go to a community and people have never really seen somebody with swollen limbs and you start telling them, someone can get swollen limbs, it's tough.
It is. There is. In fact, one of the key interventions is sensitization and behavior change communication. So that is one of the key interventions. We have different pillars for intervention. So this sensitization, the issue with sensitization and behavior change communication is you create demand. Yes. So when you create demand, there can be some disillusionment if you don't meet the supply side. Yes. So that is one thing that we look at also. But in terms of awareness, there is awareness going on, not enough. That's why we need partners, we need community-based organizations that are going to support this awareness creation, inform people what is required. Yeah, you go, for example, you tell people about sanitation. Yeah, they have you have a place where you cannot even have a latrine. Yes, so they know they're supposed to use. You would sensitize them, but then they don't have material for providing for constructing a latrine. So that is also one thing that you partner with the people doing communication, but you also need to partner with the people who can provide this support. If it is going to be the government, it's going to be the community-based organizations, whatever there is. So there's a lot of with this we cannot do it alone. Yeah, there's a lot of partnership that is required, right from the community level up to the highest level. Yes.
Do you have a desk or a department at the Ministry of Health that deals with the neglected tropical diseases? Or is it neglected at the ministry level?
No, there's a whole division. There's a whole division of neglected tropical diseases.
What do they do?
Yeah, the same things. We partner with them and with other partners to, one, these awareness activities. Two, they're the ones who do the actual mass drug administration, and the case management, the ones which are managing the facilities for those specific diseases. They are the ones who are responsible. And for data, we cannot do all these things without data and information. So they are the responsible for the data and all the numbers of cases and all these things that are done, the interventions that are being done. So the repository of all the data for neglected tropical diseases in all the countries that we work in is with the Ministry of Health. Yeah, it's with the government.
But if you just look at how the kind of structure that they have and the resourcing, both human and financial, do you think it's getting sufficient attention?
No, it's not getting sufficient attention. There is a lot of other.
So it's neglected at the ministry level. It's there, but
Yeah, there is neglect.
They expect that people from End Fund is going to mobilize resources and come and support the Ministry of Health in doing the work.
Partly, yes. But the human resource itself, the number of staff who are working for the Ministry of Health are not End Fund staff, they're not NGO staff. Yeah, so you have scientists, you have public health officers who are working at the Ministry of Health. But then when it comes to these interventions, there's a, can I say, over-reliance? Yes.
On donor funding.
Yes, there's over-reliance on donor funding. Yeah.
What should be the best way forward?
Government intervention. The government should, that's why we are doing
allocate funds.
Yes, funds. Yeah, that's why we are doing a lot of advocacy and make policy decisions. At least for Kenya, you have strategic plans that have been there in place. So because of these strategic plans, then it is easy to do it. To now allocate funds when you cost the plans that are there.
Are there any of these neglected diseases that are not preventable?
Most of them are preventable. Most of them are preventable. Yeah, because we know the causative actions, the causative agents are there. Yeah, so most of them are preventable. But you go to a place where there is, for example, I talk of Kalasha, where it is by sandflies. Yeah, and then lymphatic filariasis by mosquitoes. So prevention, we need a lot of vector management to ensure that these vectors are controlled. Yes, you go to almost the entire Lake Victoria is freshwater lake. Then you have bilharzia there. Yeah, so what do you do in such a case? You want to ensure that, if you have piped water so that people don't go to the river, then you control it, isn't it? You cannot kill all the snails. So there are so many, almost all of them are preventable, but now it depends with the scale of the scale of the intervention that is required.
Duncan, you've been very informative this morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for sharing all this information. And as you go back to participate in the conference, we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it was a pleasure being here. Yeah.
Duncan Ochol is a program manager for East Africa at End Fund. We've been talking about neglected tropical diseases and the job that End Fund has been doing in highlighting these issues, how we can all as communities address this. Kenya's biggest conversation will be back tomorrow. It's Madaraka Day. It's a public holiday. But you know what? We'll be here holidaying with you. City, the final proverb from Tanzania.
Yes, indeed. The final proverb from Tanzania. One who bathes willingly with cold water does not feel the cold.
Okay. Thank you very much for tuning in. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission is today expected to hold a meeting to hear a dispute filed by Usawa Kawote presidential hopeful Mwangi Wairia following the omission of his name from presidential nomination register. Wairia caused drama at the Bomas of Kenya as security officers barred him from accessing the venue, termed the decision by the polls agency to be fraud and discriminatory. The Muranga governor insisted that there is a conspiracy to lock him out. Wairia questioned why his name has been removed from the IEBC schedule, yet he submitted all the initial requisite documentation. The electoral board's chairman, Ofula Chebukati, however, stated that Wairia failed to meet the signatures threshold for clearance as a presidential candidate. He indicated that Wairia brought signatures from 22 counties only. Now, Stella Memusi, wife of Kajiado Central MP Elijah Memusi, is dead. According to reports, Stella succumbed after a fatal accident in Isinya, Kajiado East Monday night. The accident involved a private vehicle that was coming from Nairobi with a stalled lorry on the road. The driver of the ill-fated vehicle sustained injuries and was treated and later discharged. Stella is said to have dropped her children to school after the lapse of the midterm break. The body of the late has been moved to the Kajiado Referral Hospital. Mortuary. Our thoughts and condolences to the family. The National Cohesion and Integration Commission will officially launch the Conflict Hotspot Mapping 2022 report today in Nairobi. In an earlier statement, the Commission had listed some key findings of the report, expressing optimism that the upcoming elections will be mainly peaceful in 31 counties. The Commission noted that it will rely on past records to pick out the areas with the view of engaging residents on the need to maintain peace during the exercise. And African Development Bank Group Chief Dr. Akiwumi Adesina has today begun a 4-day official visit to Kenya. Adesina, who arrived this morning in Nairobi, will call on President Uhuru Kenyatta at the start of his official visit to Kenya. He will also meet other senior government officials, including Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury and Planning, Ukur Yatani, who is also the African Development Bank Group's governor for Kenya.